Yo, Thomas, can you hear me okay? Can you come on and speak?
Yep. Check. We're going live right now on the World Crypto Network. Let's do some tweets about
Shit,
this.
I'm not hearing any of you guys.
I thought you were going to set it up and it was going to work. Did you plug your headphones in? Everything's working for me, man. And I was about ready to share it too. It's already kind of shared. Oh, wait, I'm muted. Okay,
right, let's try this again.
I was muted. How about now?
Oh yeah, yeah, I got you, man. You got me now?
Yeah.
All right, we ran into a little technical difficulties right now. Yeah, bro, I didn't even get the, hey, there's Robek.
All right, here we go.
Where we go, man. Whoa, we're turning it.
We are live on the World Crypto Network. Welcome to the Curio.Cards Rediscovery Party Part 2. So now I'm going to go back to tweeting this. That's what I was going to do before.
Yep, definitely, guys. We appreciate a retweet just to let everybody know we're here. Talking about Curios, what happened. We're going to get into what went down yesterday evening with everybody's best friend, Gary V, and also with Daryl Morey. And I didn't even know this guy before last night. Obviously, some of you guys knew him pretty well. And so he aped in a bunch as well. And so we had a lot of action happening last night.
It was very exciting.
And so we definitely want to get into that.
Daryl Morey from the Philadelphia 76ers. According to the Wikipedia, he's kind of like their Billy Bean. He did Moneyball for basketball, focusing on analytics and choosing players that way. So he sounds like a really cool guy. Yeah.
Amazing. And actually chatted with him today. He was trying to figure out how to buy the 17B card. So that was fun, and actually our Discord helped out, found the right place to buy that. I wasn't sure exactly either. You know, I knew you could get it on OpenSea. I just wanted to make sure I didn't like send him in the wrong place. And yeah, he's close to the full set. He's very, very close. I won't share what he's looking for because I don't want to sway the market. But yeah, he's very, very close to a full set, which is pretty exciting. So if you haven't, I think I invited all of the Curio guys up. I invited you up a couple times, but keep it clean, brother. It's pretty exciting. So if you haven't, I think I invited all of the Curio guys up. I invited you up a couple times, but keep it clean, brother. It's pretty exciting. Oh. So if you haven't,
Travis is here.
Thomas, I'm hearing reverb. Guys up. You got, yeah, Thomas, I'm hearing reverb from you.
All right, I cancel that.
Yeah. Let me give you, how do I give you permission? I thought I could give you permission anyway.
I think you can probably make people host these days.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I was just trying to figure that out. Anyway, just figuring it out, man. But look who we got in. We got Travis in the room. Travis, how's it going, man? Oh, I got to invite him to speak. Guys, raise your hands if I'm not seeing you. You know, I'm not so great at controlling all of these buttons and stuff. So be sure to raise your hand if you want to come up and speak. I want to have the whole team come up if you guys want to come up. I'd love to have you come up and speak. Travis, I clicked invite to speak, but if you're not getting it, just raise your hand and I'll invite you to speak. And so let's get into what happened last night. You know, I think actually, let's get Daniel up here because I think Daniel maybe deserves a little bit of credit for pinging Gary V continuously on Twitter. You want to tell us a little bit about that, Daniel?
Oh, what's up, guys? It's super awesome to be here. Shout out to everybody in the spaces right now. Thanks, Adam. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm recovering from a torn meniscus at home. I play a lot of soccer, so I have a lot of time on my hands, more than I would like right now. So it's kind of perfect for, dude, I just discovered Curio cards and I just went down the rabbit hole the same way I presume everybody else in here did. And I was like, dude, this is crazy. It just gave me that feeling, you know, when you find something that's like, wait, this is legit. This is no bullshit, no marketing, no promote. This is like the real thing. And so I'm just excited about it. And I noticed somewhere in the Discord, someone mentioned that Daryl and Gary already owned a couple copies. I'm familiar with both of them, like super dope guys. So I just thought that was exciting. And I was just like, yo, if you guys think two analytical minds like these guys are just quietly holding these for no reason, you're crazy. Like, these are going to explode. So I just was sharing my excitement pretty much.
Yeah, that's awesome. And so you heard about it first in Gary's Discord?
No, I actually went on OpenSea and I sorted like the top 7-day volume by gainers, and I just scrolled way down and just sort of saw it, and I was just like, this is how bored I am, guys. I really have too much time on my hands. So I just saw it and I was like, I just clicked it, and OpenSea really did a great job with the description, because it sort of kills you having to explain it, because it's almost like too good to be true. Like if you say that to someone, hey, it predates punks and crypto kitties and everything, people will look at you like you're crazy. But if OpenSea says it in writing on their bio, in the bio of the project with a blue check, it's has a bit more gravitas or whatever. So I was like, dude, this is nuts. I just started researching it, and yeah, that's pretty much it. And sorry, I don't mean to hog the mic or anything like that. More than happy to. I want to hear from everybody else too. So yeah,
not at all, brother. That's pretty awesome. I mean, I think you probably were, if not the impetus, right there. I know I tweeted then at Gary after you were like, hey, let's keep hitting Gary, and I said, I tweeted at Gary and said, hey, Gary, I heard you're buying Curio.Cards, come on in the room, right? And then you could almost feel the excitement, because I think somebody checked, there's that thing within Discord where you can see who enters the room, and somebody saw that he entered, right? And then people started going crazy in the Discord, right? That was pretty awesome. And then he popped in, and everybody was pretty psyched about that. Yeah,
for sure. I would love to hear from Daryl, seeing that he's in here. If that's cool, I would love to. I'm so curious about how he sort of got into it.
Oh yeah, I didn't even didn't see him pop in. Yeah, Daryl, if he wants to come up and speak. I chatted with him today, and there was some confusion between Daryl and Gary as to who had made the purchase, or who was quicker to buy into Curio. And so we did a little. We did a little. Well, we know Robek was first for sure, but whether Gary or Daryl was first. And some people in our Discord did do some digging. But Daryl, do you want to tell us a little bit about how you learned about Curio?
You gotta unmute yourself.
Yeah, you might need to unmute.
Oh, there we go.
There you go, brother.
There we go. You can
Great
see
to have you in here, man.
You can see how tech savvy I am.
Man, I'm right there with you. But yeah.
Anyway, I went down the rabbit hole a while ago, and I was mad Gary beat me by a week. But hey, he's the best for a reason. And yeah, I grabbed at the time like all the ones I thought would be pretty rare, which turned out to be I was pretty accurate except for a couple. And then honestly, when you guys made it blow up last night, I was like, oh, I'll just buy the rest of them.
Well, I definitely can't say we made it blow up. I think, certainly Gary is such an influencer in the space, right?
What was interesting is I was tracking it on OpenSea and CryptoSlam and everywhere, and it was always like no one was paying attention to it. So I was like, oh, maybe because it isn't on like the 720 contract. People are like, okay, it's not real. But I was like, how is this not real? It has to be.
Yep.
So that's why I grabbed it, but it never took off. I assumed it might. And for the same reason, I have like a piece of land on Ethereum, and I have a whole bunch of CryptoPunks. Like for me, like, look, NFTs are going to be massive, like 100x to 1000x to where they are now. But there's going to be a period where there's going to be a flight to quality, where there's going to be a big shakeup, where a lot of these, pick to, just crash basically.
Yeah.
Then there'll be a flight to quality, a flight to like some of the original stuff. And so I was just trying to squat all that. So that's sort of general strategy.
It's cool. I think for most of us who have been holding the cards since the rediscovery, I think someone like yourself who's a collector, or Gary, it's just kind of like it solidifies our own thought process, right? And that's the thing that I think got so many of us hyped, myself included, that it's like, oh, finally we've been, justified or, verified almost in our belief. And so that's where I think all that emotion came from last night. Of course, a little bit of money thrown in there too, or, on paper wealth generation, but it's more about believing in something and kind of having it solidified by people, who are looked upon, in the space. And I think that was pretty awesome last night. So thank you for that.
Well, I sounds like the original creators are here. What an amazing idea to do it in the first place. They're so far out of their time. Look, all I am is a dude with, too much money, buying side. I've done nothing. So I mean, I try to be ahead of different trends. So, but I'd love to hear from people who've actually done something real and not someone like me.
Absolutely. Well, we definitely want to get into that a little bit tonight. We've got a whole bunch of the people from the team in the room, a bunch of artists. If we want to, I don't know if Travis, if you want to speak, or
sorry, I was making coffee. That's why I wasn't talking earlier. I'm making coffee right now.
Travis, to put this in a little bit of context, Travis missed the entire thing last night. I think.
So there's a trend here, right? Like Adam, you see the trend, right? There's now been 3 events that, like, when I take time off, everything blows up. So I'm taking next week off as well. The first time I quit my job, right? And I was like, great, I'm gonna go offline for a week. And the very next day after my last day, the Curio rediscovery happened. And I'm glad I had to quit my job because it was a full-time task to catch up what was going on and help out with the wrapper and get everything kind of, moving again.
Well, let's say what it really was, Travis, which was you put out a tweet on Friday. I'm done with my job, last day of work. I wonder what's next.
Yeah.
Right?
And then the next day, Slade, I think, whoever it was, discovers Curios, or Die Aping, discovers it Curio again and, makes it big. People thought I knew.
Oh, I thought for sure you knew. I thought
I was being coy.
You were being coy. Kind of like Daryl was saying, the guy from Ethereum. He knew it was coming. He relaunched his website. Right. He knew it was coming.
No, all the stuff was just up. I just been paying for the website for no particular reason. Well, I left it up as a resource, as information, right? If you had old cards, you're what was the contract address again? I need to
we were actually
I just left it up as a resource.
It was actually super helpful that it was left up because we were still using the information on that site for stuff we were working on tertiary that nobody cared about either. So thanks for keeping it up.
That's the theme with Curio and related projects. Was when we started this thing, just nobody cared. I was joking. I said hey, there was $500,000 of trades the other day apparently for the thing that they hated when it came out, and I had to correct myself. People didn't care enough to hate it. It's just NFTs weren't really a big thing in 2017 in a larger context. It definitely existed. Rare Pepe was an absolutely enormous project for the time. Scaled to the time, and there wasn't really an NFT experience yet on Ethereum.
Well, I think there's no doubt, like what Daryl said, it's you were ahead of your time, and I think we've talked about that a lot, about just how it never happens, almost never happens, where you try to start something and it fails, and then somehow it comes back later. It's it never happens. And so
all those people who did the personal computer 10 years before Steve Jobs and it failed, they didn't get nothing. It's very rare. I think it's just the type of asset, the type of the way this works, that archaeology can exist on the older project.
Do you want to give the people maybe the 1 minute kind of overview about, just in case they haven't heard a story or a podcast with it, about how you guys kind of formed the team and got started?
Yeah, is Rhett on here?
Oh man, Rhett's invisible. I put his name in this thing, but I recognize.
We never know.
There's zero chance. You never know. He might.
He shows up sometimes. Well, I mean, Tom's here obviously. So like me, Tom, and Rhett were at a bar, El Rio, and you know, it wasn't like overnight. We've been talking for a while. Me and Tom organized something called the San Francisco Bitcoin Meetup Group, and we had done an art show, like a physical. You know, we had a gallery space. We were actually the first people to put art in that space. They were remodeling it. We actually had to help paint the walls like the day before, getting it all set up. And Dorian Nakamoto was this guy that Newsweek said was Satoshi Nakamoto. He was there, and I have like a picture of him, like, you know, Satoshi Nakamoto painting the walls, getting set up for this art show. A couple years before, there had been a craft show that the group had done. So, you know, there was this idea, let's do like an art show. And obviously, Red Pepe was a really big project at the time. So we were talking at El Rio, where we did an event once a month at El Rio. And just the idea of like, what would it take to do an online digital art show? And it didn't seem like a crazy idea to us. We see Rare Pepe, we talk all the time, we see these projects, the idea that you can take a piece of digital artwork and do what you can't normally do with digital objects, make it unique. The same way a Bitcoin is a collectible, right? The same way Ethereum, you know, Ether is a collectible. And that seemed fine. So a lot of people were doing it. It was a non-fungible contracts were a thing. So we decided to do Curio.Cards with some artists that we knew, as well as the idea would be we'd reach out to, you know, anybody who wanted it to be an artist, try to kind of create like an open way of submitting. In fact, that's how Robek ended up releasing artwork. I didn't know Robek before we started Curio.Cards. He found Curio and had amazing artwork, and you know, wanted on. So he made some cards. And then, yeah, we released it. We did 30 cards. It was kind of like a art show of 30 pieces over a couple of months. We released them every Tuesday, like one or three, or depending on if it was what it was, we'd release them. And it was a fun project. Like, people that showed up really enjoyed it, but it didn't really get that much reach. There wasn't really a large enough market. Nobody really was that interested. And I would do podcasts at the time. And the main thing that I kind of get stuck on, which is sort of explaining to somebody why NFTs have value. Just that idea that, but wait, it's a digital picture, but I can download it. Why would I care? There's kind of that whole thing is like, no, it's like the other token, and that represents your ownership.
It's almost like that is finally.
That's understood.
It's like that took years, and it took years, and now it's been in the last 3 months. It's like it's understood, right?
Yeah, everyone in space gets it. There's like no debate. Obviously, people external to crypto still, you know, don't quite always get NFTs, and there's some weird takes out there. But anybody who knows crypto knows NFTs, and it's pretty straightforward. At the time, I'm talking to like crypto people, and they didn't really know what I was talking about. But I think it was just a little too early of an idea.
So when you did that, you said Robek was you had this is one I always get confused on.
Are we just here in dead? Oh, does somebody ask me questions? Sorry, my internet's fucking garbage right now.
We're just talking about you.
No, I'm sorry. I thought it was.
I think you should talk about Crypto Pop, and then maybe circle back to me or Thomas. You know, anybody.
Actually, why don't you tell us about?
Or not. So what was the question thrown at me? Sorry, my internet's been garbage. What did you say, Travis?
I was going to ask about.
I feel like it's all
and how the artist,
like Adam, died, and he's like the only person that can hold a conversation and keep it going. Adam, are you here?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, I'm going to be Adam now. All right, that's really interesting story, Travis. So here's something that I have a big question for Thomas. You know, how's it feel now, like to see some of this stuff take off now? Do you feel fulfilled? You're like, yes, I'm right. Like this was worth the time and effort for us to collaborate on this?
Well, as you know, Robek, each week on Tuesdays, we would launch the new Curio cards, and Travis and I would get together for a YouTube show that I think was watched by Moon, Robek, and that was it. So
yeah, like 4 viewers.
Yeah, and we would get on there each week. And I think if you look at the cards, I think if you look at it backwards, we had a really good plan, right? We had the first 10 cards. We were kind of trying it out, seeing if we could maybe raise money for the company and just try out this idea of digital baseball cards, right? So just like movies or anything else, you have a day, you pick Tuesday, and we're like, new card Tuesday. And we would get together and we would try to sell these new cards. And you guys can look at the blockchain yourself. These cards didn't sell. So it was pretty disappointing in the time. I'd even, Rhett is such a good programmer, and Rhett, I can say, make digital baseball cards, but it's Rhett that made it possible with the code. So for a long time, I'd worried that I'd wasted Rhett's time and that I'd interfered with Rhett's ability to make money and all that kind of thing, because, we didn't have any money for the company. And it's really great now that Rhett, is a big part of a big project and that it was worth his time. And I think Travis also got some rewards from working on this project. So I think it's really rewarding and as well as the artists are finally getting some recognition. And it's neat. Lots of people are saying things like, crypto pop, crypto graffiti, Robek, Philippe. These artists didn't stop working in 2017. And they're just so excited to see that, they worked on this project, then they worked on some other projects. So yeah, it's really gratifying and just welcome to all the new people. And I'm glad you guys like it so much. It's really nice.
Do you guys hear me now, or am I still?
I can hear you, Adam. I can hear you, Adam.
I think
I can't hear Adam at all.
I got to put in a special request.
Is he talking? I guess I should refresh.
I think we've got to have Robek bounce off and on. I think what happens is sometimes Twitter Spaces is a beta product, so sometimes it splits
are you serious?
into two spaces, and there's a little bit of delay. And either Robek's doing the greatest troll job ever, and he's just messing with Adam, and he's like talking over you for fun, which is totally within his range. But yeah, I think it's more likely we had a server split. But go ahead, Adam. We can hear you.
Yeah, I figured. I figured it was Robek. He did have me download something before we got on here, so I figured he was just messing with me. But did I lose you again? Please, somebody say 100 in the thing so I can see. All right. Robek's laughing, so I know he's still there, man.
But yeah, we were trying to sell the cards each week, and then like Travis said, Travis went to all the VCs and we tried to pitch them and made speeches, went to meetups and all the kind of things that you could do to make a startup happen. And we were in San Francisco, all that kind of stuff. And we just couldn't get it to take off. And,
Travis, can you let me hear that pitch, Travis, where you're telling me you're going to sell cards for 50 cents. For 50 cents, you're going to give the artist how much? And how much are you going to make?
Yeah. I had to work on my elevator pitch now because I haven't done it in forever, but I had it down to nice quick 30, and I thought it was pretty good. Create an ecosystem, right? Make money on trades. But yeah, there just wasn't really any interest. We put a lot of effort into this thing, a lot of time, a lot of heart, a lot of our attention, as Tom said, a lot of our time. And it feels really great to have it be recognized for its historical role, if nothing else. And to see that translated in it. What's really nice too is because the dream always at the very beginning was, we're not going to make money on selling the cards. That money's for the artists. They created the cards, etc. It's going to be an open platform. Anybody can submit art, etc. But there's going to be secondary effects, right? There's going to be trading places. There's going to be marketplaces. There's going to be, licensing, whatever. There's going to be secondary effects. There's going to be an economy around this thing. And that's where a company can exist.
Yep. But did you ever think about making 10,000 avatars and doing that? Did that ever cross your mind, brother?
No, because we were, CryptoKitties hadn't come out yet, but there were people, there were kind of similar ideas, and we're kind of trying to stay away from that generative art at the time. But I do like CryptoPunks, and I do like generative projects. But the idea of
we were before all of that. There wasn't any generative art for us to copy. We couldn't say, just make it like Crypto Punks, make it like Mooncats.
Yeah.
No, there was Rare Pepe on
outside of. Sorry, I think I'm talking over Tom.
But yeah, there was Rare Pepe on Counterparty, and it was kind of similar. It was a baseball card kind of project where you'd have a face card, and then you'd print, a certain number of those cards. And that fit very well into, my baseball card collecting background, as well as Magic cards. There'd been Spells of Genesis, which was another really early very, very
Mhm.
early NFT project. And it was kind of like a Magic the Gathering game that you could play with the cards. And then there were rare Pepes that were just more collectibles. And yeah, we wanted to move right into that with the collectibles. But I think we should just keep telling the story here, kind of for people that are just maybe catching up. So, you know,
Yeah, go into like the first release of cards, the artists involved in the first release, and how that went down.
Guys, do you
really
mind
wanna
if I
be
just ask?
digital.
Guys, could I just ask one quick question before Mad Bitcoin sort
Go
of
for
goes
it,
into
dude.
that? Just real quick, seeing as we have all the creators here, I would love to know this from the perspective of a newcomer into the space and fielding these questions when I'm, you know, trying to sort of, I guess, raise awareness to the project. Like, you know, you guys are talking about the Pepe stuff, and I think one of the other projects you just mentioned there was maybe before. So were they minted on? I saw somewhere Pepe was like minted on Bitcoin or something, or like,
Yeah,
can we clear up all the FUD and like just explain like this is
Sure.
genuinely the first one on Ethereum?
On Ethereum, yes. So yeah, so
Platform
sorry, go
called. Oh yeah, so back, you know, we're talking way back when Bitcoin was all there was Bitcoin, and it was kind of the idea this is going to be the Omni platform, but there were things they couldn't do, so well, that's fine with the layer 2. And there was this project called Counterparty, and it was kind of like a colored coin, kind of like layer 2 thing, and it was the idea of it runs on top of Bitcoin, so it is Bitcoin, but it's a separate project called Counterparty. And Rare Pepe launched their tokens on Counterparty. I believe Spells of Genesis was also a Counterparty, and there wasn't really much else. When I was saying to kind of like other generative examples, I meant like non-crypto projects. There were other obviously digital art projects out there at the time, but in terms of like a token-backed, you know, censorship-resistant, etc. project, it was really just those two, and they were on Counterparty.
Got it. So basically, it's safe to say that Curio.Cards are the first art ever created on Ethereum. Undoubtedly, like that's fact.
Well,
basically.
Daniel, I want to say that talking to most people, yes. Now, if you want to get really super technical, somebody put a couple of polygons on top of an Ethereum tile, and you can call that art if you'd like to.
Yeah,
So I want to just put that out.
That looks to me like someone playing the game, right? I mean,
yeah,
I'm not saying that like a beautiful.
Right.
I'm not saying that a beautiful Settlers of Catan play board, like, oh wow, that board looks so great. I'm not saying that wouldn't be considered art, but the way I see those tiles, it looks like someone was just playing the game.
Yeah, I think it's about intent. I mean, I talk about it a lot. Like, it's just the intent. Did you make a game, or were you doing it? Like, this is the first trading cards. It's not just the first like art project. It's also the first like concept of trading cards on Ethereum. And the way that the contract was modified by Rhett, like, and like the hacking that kind of went on to track individual like ownership of these cards, is basically essentially how 1155 protocol works now. It's kind of really super interesting. I mean, I say basically, but that's like a super like watered down version. I don't want to like.
It maps really closely. It's actually fun. This whole contract thing is really interesting to me because when Rare Pepe came out, no one looked at that and said, "Oh, that's not an NFT." Oh, that's, you know, there's another kind of NFT that's more NFT than this NFT. No one said that. Rare Pepe's was clearly an NFT. There was no debate, no discussion. It was the leading NFT project. If you were interested in unique, rare collectibles in the crypto world, you owned Rare Pepe. There was not a debate.
I wanted to just, I'm gonna have to jump real quick, but I'm gonna interrupt and cut everybody off because Travis, you're talking about building this whole ecosystem and like all this centralized trading platforms and stuff like that. And I think one of the things that we talk about a lot in some of these interviews, if people have time for them, is like how being first wasn't necessarily the best like thing for all of us, like across all the different projects we were working on, but all the visions for the things that we were trying to do, or like from what you guys were trying to do and like spin-offs and stuff like that, have come to fruition now in the past like 2 to 3 years. And those protocols and standards have been developed. And there was an interesting conversations about earlier that somebody brought up related to like the CryptoPunk stuff, like, well, what if somebody, you know, they fielded a hypothetical, like what if Coke decides to DMCA this card? Well, all those services were actually built a while back for Curio to be supported as a decentralized trading index. And it's kind of interesting that those are still supported, and unwrapped cards actually have a lot of utility in that they can still be censorship resistant from like a platform perspective. Anyway, that was the wrap one.
Yeah, and even the wrapped ones too, right? Because like I don't
for sure
control the wrapped cards. It's a deployed contract. That's it. It's done.
We should probably
idea was we thought we'd have to make an auction house, right? We thought as you're saying, being first has its challenges. We thought we're going to have to make a trading house or make a trading platform. That required serious capital, serious time. But now OpenSea exists. and Curios are on there, and they're trading, and it had $500,000 in volume yesterday or today, and we have a 1% fee going to the artists on that, and that's just beautiful. That's everything I wanted. It's amazing.
So I think we should talk about some of the technical background of the Curio cards here. Even though Rhett isn't here, we can do just a basic overview so you guys understand kind of what you're really buying here. So at the time we were making these, there were ERC20 tokens, and they were mainly used for ICOs. So people would sell kind of like stock of a company, and sometimes it would go well and sometimes it would go badly. And you could sell these on the Ethereum blockchain, and you could hold them kind of like you would hold a stock certificate. So what Rhett did, and we had discussions about this as a group, this is a team project. But what we talked about is we said, first of all, we're like, it should be one card. Like, I don't want half a card. I don't want 0.1 of a card. If you tear the card in half, I'm not interested in it anymore. So Rhett did some magic, and he made it so that Curio cards were locked at 1.0. This was so big at the time, there was an exchange that you could kind of trade on. It was a decentralized exchange called Ether Delta. And Ether Delta's code, we broke it because they were expecting something that you could cut up into pieces like Bitcoin or Ethereum, where you could have a 0.1 or a 0.01, right? And with this, it was like, no, it's a card, it's 100%. So that's one of the things that we kind of, revolutionized there, that Rhett, created. The other things, like Robek were saying, how to keep who owns the card, the ownership of the card. A lot of this had to be written in the very early versions of Solidity, coding language for Ethereum. They didn't even have proper kind of if-then statements. It was very primitive what Rhett had to do, and it was very complicated. So some of the other ideas, we had the art.
The vending machine.
The vending machine.
I remember the vending machines were a huge technical lift. There's some really weird, interesting things happening in the code to make those work.
So
and now that's like the mint function on the ERC 721. That's now become a standard.
Yeah, we didn't have a standard. So when it was time to sell these, what Rhett did, like Travis said, is he created a vending machine. So the vending machine created, let's say, 2,000 of the Apple cards, the #1 card. And then they would just be there in the vending machine. So as a company, we would have to, if we wanted to buy these things, we'd have to buy Ethereum, send it to the vending machine, and then it would send the card, the ERC20 token that represents the card, back to your wallet. So that's something that we also kind of invented, or were one of the first people to do. Also, the cards were stored in IPFS. So that means that the image for the card is stored on many computers and is distributed all over the internet. So even if, like, people were speculating if Coca-Cola sued us or Wendy's sued us, we really can't do anything. It's kind of out of our hands. The token's on Ethereum, the card image is on IPFS. The thing runs itself. We can't really stop it. So
the IPFS thing is interesting for, like, there's three big things that I think about that. First of all, like, Rare Pepe wasn't on IPFS. I'm almost positive. So we were more decentralized, and I guess you could say more NFT-ish than them, right? It was more non-fungible. And the other thing is, you still see projects get this wrong. You'll still see projects put like URLs in their NFT token projects, and that means, like, if that website goes down, or if it gets taken over, or if Coca-Cola shows up, that NFT is going to suddenly be not as, censorship resistant and secure and yours as you thought it was. And then, like, lastly, that saved us, right? I mean, when Curio was rediscovered, the fact that anyone has the original full high resolution raw image files at all is because it was on IPFS, and there were nodes around, and we were able to recover the files that way. I have a new computer. I didn't have I'd have to, like, dig through old hard drives or something to try to find those. But no, it's fine. That's not me or Tom or Rhett that's backing up these images. They're running on IPFS.
So were you this I hadn't heard people for. Is Curio then the first NFT that used IPFS?
I think it is. I mean, it's the first NFT on Ethereum, right?
Yeah.
I know that Ethereum certainly didn't use IPFS, and I'm pretty sure we are, because I remember, like, talking to Rhett about this thing, like, we should use IPFS, because I had seen what's his name, Juan Bennett, the guy who does IPFS. I had been at one of his talks, and I was really blown away by the platform. And so we were talking about how we could use this to essentially store large off-chain data. And, like, that's perfect. These image files are enormous.
What's interesting?
It wasn't. We didn't copy, like, oh, hey, these people use IPFS. We should use IPFS. I think we invented that as well.
What's interesting about this, Travis, from, like, a perspective of, like, current, I guess, NFT stuff, like, IPFS gets a lot of hate, and it should, in some ways, just because it's really not an optimal platform for things, because you have to like encourage people to like post these files. But
yeah, someone's got to run the nodes. Yeah.
But what's interesting about this is like this, people are still issuing stuff on IPFS. There's other solutions that are coming out of it, like people are trying Arweave and other like ways to do decentralized file storage. But like this is kind of like the tools you had at the time, if you're trying to do the whole decentralized like mindset, it was the only option available, and it has become the norm across it has become like part of the lore and the press and like all this stuff for NFT. If you're not hosting the images on decentralized servers, then do you even really have an NFT? And then you get into like more arguments about whether like the art is just a representation of the token or whatever. But like it's really interesting because these concepts are like all hosted. Like a lot of these platforms now too just host on IPFS, right? That is wild to see like how broadly that mind share kind of expanded across projects.
Well, it just makes sense. It was the best option. And since IPFS is kind of like the first half of this larger thing, right? They're releasing Filecoin and there's other integrations, and eventually they'll be able to run an IPFS node, decentralized, right? You don't have to convince people to run a node. It would be like, paid for out a piece in the project, like whatever. And that's happening now, finally. That was on the roadmap way back then.
Well, and as you guys can see, IPFS served us perfectly, because even if the company went out of business, the image would still be there on the internet. One of the other decisions like this that ended up really helping the project, and is probably a lot of the reason why everyone's here, when Rhett and I and Travis looked at Ethereum, it was pretty obvious that Ethereum was going to get jammed up and full, and it was going to have scaling problems, and that was going to lead to very high fees on Ethereum. And as we were selling these cards for $1 a piece, maybe thinking 5, maybe thinking 10, in the future, that wasn't going to cut it if the fees were $5 or the fees were $10. So one of the ideas we were kicking around is that we could make a copy of Ethereum, and we'd call it like a Curio Ethereum. And as everyone who makes a copy of one of these cryptos knows, the best part about it is you get all the coins, right? You get to have a pre-mine or whatever you want to do, like they did with the real Ethereum. And if we had done that, no one would know about this project right now, because the company would have been hosting the servers to mine the thing. And when the company went out of business, the servers would have been turned off and the project would have went away. But instead, because we put the Curio cards on Ethereum, I think Travis could tell this part, but Travis was starting to kind of close down the company, and we just left the vending machines out there. So Travis, what happened next?
Well, yeah, I remember pushing for staying on Ethereum, because I figured even though it didn't exist that much, we needed to be with the ecosystem. We needed to be where the people were, where the products were. I had met with some of the OpenSea co-founders at the time, like they were working on coming out, like this stuff was going to happen. And the vending machines, we didn't have the ability to take them down, but also, actually, I think at the time maybe we did. There was a whole thing with the keys. I can get into that later. But yeah, we left it all up. It was all there. And if somebody, whenever you rediscovered the project in March, if they had shown up and there were no cards to buy, like, oh, here's an interesting fact. Anyone have cards? No? All right, whatever. Instead, it was like, hey, there's this thing. And if you like go on Etherscan and like load the API in the contract and interact directly with it, because they took down the vending machine interface, you can like get these cards. There's some available. Quick, go. They became this huge scavenger hunt. And now all these people have cards. That liquidity being still available is what enabled all the new collectors to buy a part of that discovery and be a part of Curio, and not just happen to like call up OG holders back in the day and say like, hey, snap your cards. They were there. They were available.
The other thing that was so amazing about the rediscovery is that one person didn't just buy them all. Instead, they created instructions on how to buy them and shared them with other people, helping us to spread the thing, create a market. I think Robek has something to say, though. Go ahead, Robek.
Well, before, hold your thought for a second, Robek. I just want to, because a lot of new people have come in the room, I just wanted to welcome everybody. We're talking about Curio cards and the kind of rediscovery of Curio cards after its initial launch in 2017. In May 2017, Curio cards was basically the first art NFT project on Ethereum, beat CryptoPunks by about a month. And so in the last couple of days, there's been a lot more activity. Gary V started buying up cards. Daryl Morey started buying up cards. So there's been a lot of activity. And so we just wanted to create a space where everybody could kind of meet the team and the artists who were involved. And so that's where we are. And we'll have a Q&A a little bit later. We're just going through kind of a little bit of the history right now. So Robek, who is one of the artists, I'm going to bring you back up. Go ahead, man.
Yeah, no problem. Sorry, I'm going to probably bounce out of here in about 5 minutes silently. But the one thing I just want to touch back to the IPVS thing because I think it's just interesting. A testament to that is that somehow the cards still were like available to view the art in 2021 when people rediscovered it, which is really freaking cool. Like if Travis had like shut down the service, like the servers and stuff like that, like people could still like people today. I don't know, but there were people still posting the file.
There were some nodes run somewhere.
Yeah,
there wasn't any. There wasn't. I think I did have a node, but it was actually not working. We dug it out, and it's like, oh yeah, this thing like is seized up. Someone was hosting the node somewhere.
Yeah, and I think that's a huge testament and like a huge validation. I think for like just even going down that route, and that was all I was going to just add to that to bookend it. But yeah.
So guys, if someone asks us about the project, is it like factually? Can I say it's the first like NFT collection ever on Ethereum, or will I be burnt at the stake by like some random old?
Well, people are going to burn you with that because basically the project called Ethereum was definitely first on Ethereum.
It just wasn't art. Is that right?
It
Yeah,
wasn't
they were
art. That's exactly right.
Okay,
Yeah.
got it.
Yeah.
Got it. I'm just
Like,
trying to make sure I'm factual.
Picture Settlers of Catan, and they're selling like those tiles, the land tiles. Yeah.
Yeah, I've seen it. Okay,
Well,
thank you guys.
it's a pretty amazing story too. The guy makes it all by himself, and he lists all these tiles, and you can buy the tiles. And then the internet finds it, so they buy all the tiles. But what I love about this one is they find some kind of an alternate, like a beta version that he put out there, and then the internet buys all of those tiles too. It's just a great
This is
story.
like kind of like a fun fact about Ethereum back in the day. There were test nets, but they didn't really work. You couldn't really know if it was going to behave the right way as the mainnet. But also, like, there was no action on the network. It cost like nothing to deploy. So you would just like deploy your test code to Ethereum over and over and over again until you found the one you liked, and then you deploy like, here it is, the final version. So he had like 2 or 3 test versions deployed before because it was just an early project, and that was totally normal at the time. And now it creates this whole complicated lore around the tiles. Which version do you own? Is it the latest version? Is it the last version? Is it the supported version?
Yep, I think it's and obviously that happened with Curio with card 17B.
Yeah,
and an extra minting with card 17B, which for I think collectors, it's one to collect. I just talked to Daryl today, and he wanted to get the B because he wants all of them, right? So there's the 30 originals, the 30 ones, which are
there were 3 that were misminted actually. 17, 18, and 19 were all double minted. But only 17 was sellable.
Gotcha. There you go. More history, guys.
The other one, 17 itself was fine. I think it was actually a problem with the other 2. But we just, Rhett just redid the whole thing because it didn't matter. It was, nobody was like, oh, but this one came out an hour before, blah, blah, blah. Nobody cared about that stuff back then.
You told me a little bit about that because you guys had different pricing tiers, right? So the first, I don't know, say the first card number 1, there were 2,000 total supply. The first, 500 were one price, right? You were trying to get people to kind of ape in at the time, right?
Yeah, so the idea that you want an early bird pricing. It's kind of like Kickstarter. Right. They had essentially multiple vending machines for the earliest cards. It was so much work because the card is 1 deployment and the vending machine is a deployment. So 3 cards is 6 deployments. And we do that every week. And the first couple of weeks, there were actually 3 tiers per card. So that's 3 vending machines for each card. So that's 12 contracts you have to deploy perfectly within a very short period of time because people were watching the deployer address. You could buy cards before we even announced them. Even back then, that would happen. So it was an intense amount of work. And the tools are terrible. Like, there's no, all the amazing deployment tools that exist now. I think Rhett was literally like copy pasting code into a browser tool or something. So it was a lot of work to deploy these things.
That's so awesome.
Many hours of very precise, detailed, painstaking work. It's actually kind of shocking that only 3 were misprinted.
Well, actually, while we're on the misprint, there is the interesting, because I think from a historical perspective, this is interesting. I believe there was one, I think it was a woman who bought 17B back in 2017. Is that
Yeah.
right?
So when we looked at it, it didn't seem to be ultimately that big of a deal because it appeared that no one had bought it originally at the time. We had rolled the new one out in time. We didn't tell, it was fine. But it turned out, I guess, one person had actually bought a card. I think we just gave them one of the regular 17s, and that was easier than creating like a whole complicated double 17 wrapper situation for the use case of one person.
Yeah, it was amazing to see that happen in the Discord chat when she put up the address and she had the
we're
old
like-
address, and we're like, that's not possible. And they were like, well, I guess it is kind of technically possible.
So wait, does she still have how much? Does she still have that?
She has
card?
the only OG, bought in 2017, the 17B, I believe. The thing about you're probably thinking
Literally just
on the
one card?
blockchain.
One card?
Yeah, maybe it was 5 or something. I think she bought a bunch because it's like $1. You spend like $5, you get 5 cards. That's how the vending machine works.
Yeah.
But the interesting about this is you're probably thinking how do you not know it's the blockchain? You probably just look at the contract. The thing is these contracts are so old, and Red had to do so much fancy coding to get all this stuff to fit in there that the ERC20 contracts we're using, they're not ERC20, they're hacked and modified, and they're not compliant. They're not fully compliant with modern ERC20 standards. So Etherscan, they're looking for this sort of special event that happens when you transfer a card, and the original Curios don't do that. So it actually makes it very hard to track down when cards are transferred in Etherscan.
That's a special
The old
bonus
native
of,
ones, the wrapped ones are fine.
Curio anonymity. But I think while we're talking about card number 17, we should get Luis up here, Crypto Pop, who created card number 17, and I think has a very special announcement about a brand new Crypto Pop card. Luis, are you with us? Oh, he unmuted and he muted. Let's see.
Well, while he sorts out, also I love those cards. I think they're, and really want someone to prove me wrong, the first dog tokens on Ethereum.
I like to think they are.
Welcome to
What's
Luis,
up, man? Thanks for
Crypto
joining, dude.
Pop, all the way from the Philippines.
Hey, guys.
How's it going, Luis? Go ahead.
Hey guys, so there's a little bit of lag on my side just because I guess I'm freaking 8,000 miles away from wherever you guys are. So it's been a pretty amazing journey as always. Like every time I kind of jump back into the Curio.Cards community, I am constantly kind of in awe of kind of just how many more people have become aware of it. And actually, just as we were talking in this Twitter space, I actually sold a bundle of Curio.Cards on OpenSea that included one of the pieces that didn't make the cut. So I've got 3 of my dogs, and then a 4th dog cartoon from 2017 also that didn't make the cut back then. And I just sold it for 6.9 ETH. Which I thought was a fun little price. And so that's it definitely seems like the world is starting to, or at least the NFT art community is starting to give the project the recognition that it deserves. So that's pretty fun. And I'm here to support whatever you guys do next. I've said that multiple times, by the way, that this is kind of a really exciting space for me. I'm both a crypto business person and a crypto artist, so I can see kind of great things ahead for this project and for the team that was behind it. We were definitely early, but I think it's our time now.
That's amazing that there's this card that it's kind of the original 3 that's now available again. I also think was it Robek or somebody was talking about posting the original art files? There's sort of all this sort of lore around the cards themselves that is valuable. I don't think we're kind of Curio is sort of the beneficiary of not only amazing artists but also just sort of people respecting the NFT space in general. To sort of understand this is a real thing. So what's the first one, right? Because it's a real thing, I care about these early projects.
It's also interesting to note that Luis's card number 17 was also the UASF card, which was about the user activated soft fork in Bitcoin. And that's actually when Bitcoin forked into 2 Bitcoins, Bitcoin and Bitcoin Cash. And it was really interesting that Rhett accidentally had the error on this card, and now there's the 17 and the 17.
I think it was on purpose.
Well, it's like me tweeting, I'm quitting my job, and the next day Curio like relaunches, right? The one card that's forked is the fork card. There's a couple of these, just kind of unbelievable coincidences where you assume that we're all just trolling you.
I think
Luis,
that's part of why the project is so cool, is because it is so different. Not only was it the first, but then you look into it and you're like, wow, there's so much like, like stories in the creation of this. And it's like the energy around the project is so great because it's literally the polar opposite of most things that get brought out, which are kind of like, short-term cash grabby kind of things. And then you look into this, and I felt like I was trying to collect like the freaking Horcruxes in Harry Potter or something. It's like this like mythical. It's like these mythical things. And
I love that.
Yeah, so I just think like you guys, the energy around you guys as creators is like really positive, and I think that people can sense that. And like there's nothing being sold to you. You're just like, oh my god, I've discovered this crazy thing.
I 100% agree with you.
For better or worse, a lot of the modern NFT products can kind of look around what's out there and kind of copy bits and pieces and put it together in new, interesting ways as well. But there's a lot of like prior to rely on. And when this was being put together, there's a lot of figuring it out for ourselves in the beginning. So there's a lot of kind of really kind of fun, weird, things in that journey. And the artists brought information, and there was a lot of the community brought information. We had a Discord channel back then. There was. That's how I met Robek, and the direction the cards took was based on that feedback as well. You can even look at like the 1 through 10. They all have weird numbers, like there's 1,201, right? They're all kind of like odd numbers, and then the later ones are nice round whole numbers. And that's because based on the feedback and the experiment, kind of figuring it out as we went, we changed how it was determined how many cards were created. We couldn't just kind of look around and say, well, how's it done? What's best practice?
Well, and this might be a good time to go back to our first week, and Travis and I launched the Curio cards, and Rhett created the contracts and launched them on Ethereum. The first cards we launched were 1, 2, and 3.
Wait, hold on a second, Thomas. Before we move off of Luis, I have a question, and people been pinging me this like all week. Which does he have any comment on people's thoughts that he predicted the rise of dog-themed meme coins with his, Dogecoin, Moon Mission, SpaceX Curio card number 18? Luis, would you like to comment on it?
Yes. Yes, I did predict it. You're welcome, guys. In all honesty, you can post your Doge address and get some donations. In all honesty, guys, like I was a really big dog person, right? A lot of the early cartoons that I made kind of was very fixated on all of the different types of dogs that I could get my hands on to illustrate. Unfortunately, what's happened over the last 4 years for me is that I discovered that I was actually a little bit more of a cat person than a dog person. So now a lot of my inspiration is coming from our 2 cats that we live with. But that's, please don't hold that against me. I will always continue to love the original dog cards of the metaverse, as people are starting to call them. And if we ever do a series 2, I will continue to make dog cards.
I figure that what you're saying is the next big meme token are going to be cat tokens.
Yes, and I think you can quote me on that one as well.
Dude, if there was a season 2 that was like somehow airdropped to holders, like this would just go like out of this universe, I feel like.
So this is the neat thing about Ethereum. This is the neat thing about the platform, and that kind of the side effect of a thing that was done 4 years ago that nobody cared about suddenly comes back, and everyone who was involved in it can still be there. The neat thing about this is like anyone can do that. Anyone can get together, contact the original artists. They can collaborate, find new artists, whatever, and they can make cards and airdrop them on holders by whatever mechanism they decide, or a community vote decides. Community could do it, or an individual could do it. That's something I really love about this space and how it works. A lot of like the gallery on Curio's website. I had an old gallery that wasn't working anymore, and Snow made a new gallery. I didn't ask him to. He just did it. That's something you can't get at like a company or a startup. I can't just go and be like, oh, hey, like I'm going to add something to Trello because, Because why not?
So Travis mentioned the really weird numbers of the first couple cards. So going back to that first new card Tuesday, again, everyone was doing ICOs at the time. Everyone was raising millions of dollars, selling allegedly tokens or shares in their companies. And so, we thought we were going to do that too. So I think for the first set, we might have done 200,000 of each one, and we priced them at $1. So if they would have all sold, we would have had something like $600,000 to run the company, to pay Rhett and Travis and myself salaries, and to, really be a startup. Like we could get a ping pong table, that kind of thing. So we got out there, and
ping pong table first, salary second.
That's right. Ping pong table first. So we got out there and we tried to sell them, and we linked them to everybody, and we sent them to all our friends, and all our startup people in San Francisco and the meetup people. And we said, hey, buy our cool trading cards on Ethereum. And
put it on the Bitcoin Talk forum. So that's how you announced coins back then.
Absolutely.
Bitcoin Talk forum.
Yeah, you could check it out.
That was the official place. If you weren't on Bitcoin Talk forum, it wasn't a coin release.
And you can read their negative response too. It's perfectly preserved forever. But yeah, people gave us a lot of. It's been really fun to watch this whole NFT thing explode, because so many people had to answer the questions that we were originally given. Why are these worth anything? Are they rare? Why wouldn't I just make a copy of the JPEG myself? These were thrown in our face almost immediately. And yeah, there wasn't a lot of sales, but there was a couple of people that were interested. Like Travis said, we had a Slack or a Discord or something. And Robek was in there. Moon was in there. A couple of the other people who wrote some of the software, like Snow, like Travis was talking about. And but we just went out there and we sold the cards anyway. We had the first 10 or so were designed by my friend Philippe. He does many great Bitcoin photoshops and old propaganda posters reworked for Bitcoin, stuff like that. So we worked them out. So do you want to talk, Adam, do you want us to talk about the meanings of the cards?
Nah.
Well, I like the way those numbers were determined. Like sorry, my cat feeder's going off here. Okay, it's done. The way the numbers are determined is kind of fun because at the end of the week, whatever cards hadn't sold, we just burned them. Right, we just destroyed them. So that's why these weird numbers. But it kind of is this really fun inverse thing of the most popular cards. There were a lot of them. And the least popular cards, there were very little. The ones that nobody cared about are now the rarest. And the ones everybody loved are now common. And I kind of thought that was really funny at the time, but the feedback was, that's not that funny. Also, I don't really know if there were projects doing burn mechanics back then.
Yeah. Well, I think we
kind of were first doing a large scale burn mechanics as well. That was the primary way the card quantity was determined.
It's good for people to know, if you haven't heard this kind of story before, is that the artists later in the project were able to choose how many they wanted to mint of each card. And that's why, Robek has his kind of layered numbering system, and Daniel, who did the kind of hand-drawn one, did his in a way, like he explained to me, he did 333, 222, and 111 of his cards because of a symmetry thing that he really liked. And now, so actually his card is the most rare, that one that he did 111 of, because I think 5 were lost to the bad rapper or whatever. So yeah, you want to talk about that a little bit? How you let the artists choose their own numbers?
Yeah, I mean the feedback was, obviously the picking based on the popularity was interesting, but it didn't quite work. It had an inverse effect. It wasn't the thing. And the whole plan was to really just hand over this thing to anybody who can create and add art. And, that full vision was never realized, with the idea that it was going to be an artist-run creative endeavor. So it was clearly the right choice. I think also originally it was a technical limitation. As I said, Rhett had to deploy 12 to 6 different contracts each week. And to go in and do custom amounts for each contract was a very technically challenging thing. But he got better at it as we went along. So it also kind of became an option. That's why Crypto Graffitis, he has 2,000 of all of them. Not because he picked 2,000, but because 2,000 was the default base number. So the ones that we had that were, that was kind of the max. But the ones that we said we're going to make more of, we made like 100,000. Really, I think it was just like there was 2,000, and then there was like a larger contract of 980K or 89K. Sorry. So he got that, and then from there we were able to start customizing the number, and that was absolutely the right choice because we had such a fun combination like what Robek and Daniel did.
What were you guys thinking that you were going to sell 100,000?
The ICOs had way less technical expertise. They had way less community support. They weren't as good an idea, and they were selling for millions. So
and we didn't price these things at what they're priced at now. We weren't putting up there, hey, it's 4 ETH to buy a card. You know, these were like $1.
Yep.
But yeah, it could have happened. It could have happened.
Yeah, this was right before ICOs even really kicked off, or near the end. There were definitely ICOs have been happening, but it wasn't. It hadn't really kicked off too much. So I remember later on, people were saying when I'd go do those VC investment meetings, they're like, are you going to ICO? And I'm like, we're selling a product. There's cards, and like we definitely like answered their question and thought about it and talked through them, but ultimately it didn't really make sense for the project. I was like,
I tell you, if you had somehow brought it to like, if you buy the card, you get some tokens which own the platform or something, you might have been onto something.
I mean, governance tokens weren't really a thing, but what I was saying about having the artists and the community control, Curio, the name Curio, not only is it just kind of a fun word, curiosity, etc., but it kind of makes me think of curated. So the idea was also it was going to be a community curated project, and there was ideas for token mechanics around curation of what cards were approved, and we did experiment with that. We did like some voting, didn't really go anywhere, and that's a governance token model, really. Just before you had Snapshot, before you had all these cool voting tools, before you had governance tokens, it was like utility tokens and ICO tokens were one thing that really existed at the time.
Well, and if we had made Curio ETH, we would have had those tokens to give out. We could have done them to people, but we didn't.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Tom.
That's fine. I'm happy with this too. But let me go.
Wait, I didn't get that. What was that again? Repeat that. I didn't understand what.
Well, there's this idea we were going to fork Ethereum and just run our own Ethereum, and because Ethereum has a base token like ETH, right? We would get a base token, so that would be like Curio ETH or whatever.
Oh my God! What a great idea!
Well, and I think this is what CryptoKitties did when they got the money. And then I don't think that it worked that well for them, and they might have re-engineered. I don't know what they did.
You kind of isolate yourself. They kind of discovered the thing. Yeah, they discovered the thing we were afraid of, which is you isolate yourself. You're not going to be able to build everything. You're not going to be able to convince everyone to show up. It's hard enough to get someone to install MetaMask. You're going to get them to install your forked MetaMask. I mean, I take MetaMask. MetaMask wasn't really an option at the time either.
They've done pretty well with what they did, right? So that could have been you guys.
I think CryptoKitties' biggest innovation was the token standard. The 721 really kind of pulling together people and creating a standard around a token, and then being the flagship for that token, I think was very clever. That made it an easy thing to interact with too. It gives you that community, gives you that ecosystem around that token standard they created. Our token was like, we called it, a hack the ERC20. That's what we would say. With old podcasts and stuff. You'll see me going like, oh yeah, we have a hack the ERC20. We thought that was kind of cool. But CryptoKitties showed the power of publishing an official standard.
So they say that the first 10 cards tell a story, but it's been lost. I'll do some really quick through the first 10 cards. Then I think, like Adam's saying, we'll go on and talk about the artist cards. It looks like we have Max up here, so maybe we'll go in kind of a reverse order because cryptography is not here. But the first card is the apple, of course. I have an English literature background, so everyone knows the apple represents the fall of man, the whole biblical thing, as well as Apple computer. It comes first in the dictionary. There's a lot of great things about Apple. So we had to
before
go
Atari.
Absolutely, before Atari. So that was the first one. Then the second one, let's see, my computer's not working, but it was nuts and berries. The two cards there, which are kind of like sustenance, like to feed the animal, to give you strength, and are also a reference to an old Talking Heads song called Animals, where he says, they say animals are hairy, they're eating nuts, they're feeding on nuts and berries. So you guys can go check that out. After that, the cards get into kind of the basic.
Tom, real quick on the first ones. I also remember and we didn't say this last time. I thought the berries also had a reference to it becoming the ink in the pen in the later ones. Am I misremembering that?
That sounds awesome. Like I would go with that. But I personally don't have any memory of that. But I mean, I would.
I remember it was like a crafting thing, right? It was the Curio came and shared, right? They brought nuts, berries, and people took those things and they made things, right? They made the ink, and then the ink made the book, the clay made the sculpture, the paint made the painting.
I definitely feel that for the second set, but the first set I was mainly with the Talking Heads reference, and then just the idea of kind of food, like that you start out, you got your apple, you got your nuts and your berries. You know, you could go pretty far.
So
on
first,
this, like
first
protein.
food token as well, right there. First food tokens. Now, you know all the popular food tokens are.
It's very meta.
You think pickles are great? You don't need berries.
Dude, how many firsts are we going to come up with? It's going to be 85 firsts by the end of this Twitter Spaces, man.
We'll have to have someone start a list. Maybe Daniel here will work on that. So like Travis said, after that, we got to kind of the building blocks of art, the clay, the paint, and the ink. And then from there, it went to sculpture that, like Travis said, you would make with the clay, painting that you would make with the paint, and books that you could make with the ink. But recently, something happened with this number 8 card. Travis, do you know anything that's been going on with this number 8?
You talking about the clean meme?
Yeah, the Mona Lisa.
Oh yeah. Beneath, we asked, hey Beneath, we need a painting card, and Beneath said great, and he pulled the Mona Lisa because that's the one you do. But we didn't. I don't think we specifically requested the Mona Lisa. We just said like, hey, let's do it with a painting. That'd be really cool. And now people are saying like, this is the first time the Mona Lisa was on blockchain.
And what's so great about this is so many articles use this as an example. They're like, it's like you took the Mona Lisa and put it on the blockchain. And
we did that.
We did that. So it's pretty funny.
Before any of the project they're talking about, we did it before that project.
Absolutely. And then there was a little thing in the chat. Somehow somebody said that it was a very clean Lisa. I don't know if
somebody was selling one. They were like, oh, hey, I got some Mona Lisas. They're very clean. I don't know if it was just like they were joking or whatever, but it picked up. So now you got to get those clean Mona Lisas.
And there was tons of memes in the chat, and people were making images about the clean Lisas, and it was really neat. That was one of that was after the rediscovery, but that was one of the first really kind of creative community.
The line that we would say back in 2017 were, and this was like the slogan: Curio.Cards are always in mint condition.
That's awesome.
Because there was the baseball card and the comic book element. We talked about baseball cards and comic books, and Pokemon cards and trading cards, and there's this whole valuation around the mintness, right? The factor of mintness, and like there's a benefit digital right there. It's always mint condition. So all the curios are extremely clean.
Yo, guys, I don't mean to cut anyone off, but there was just 3 purchases right now: one for 18 ETH, one for 10 ETH, and another one for 10 ETH right now.
Bro, what was the 18?
That's
what was the
insane,
18?
The wizard sold for 18, barbarian sold for 10, and yellow sold for 10.
The wizard is a very pretty card. Looks beautiful art.
Is that a record? Is that a record? 18?
I think 18
that's
is.
gotta
yeah.
be, dude. That's gotta
and
be.
the bard, here's another first. The bard is the first gift.
Of all time,
on
right?
Ethereum. Yeah, the first gift of Ethereum. Rare Pepe had gifts, NFTs, I believe, before that. But it's the first gift on Ethereum.
Well, not the bard, Travis, the ret card, the barbarian.
Oh, that's what you said. The barbarian.
Yeah, just confused. But they man, that's crazy.
The barbarian.
18 Ethereum for a 21 card, 15 Ethereum for a 22, and 10 Ethereum for a 23. Also.
Oh wow, they just bought a 25 for 20 ETH right now. Holy shit.
Wow.
What?
Someone's getting a collection. Someone's
All
building.
right, now hold on a second, man. Now I'm going on to OpenSea because I got.
What are we doing, wasting our time on this chat? When
who needs to talk about history when we can talk about money?
Yeah. What the heck?
Yeah, I thought you were talking about the barbarian.
I agree with Daniel here. I think somebody is just trying to complete their set, and they don't seem to care about price. And
well,
let's just to
whoever I mean, Tom, obviously 21 is your favorite card, obviously, or maybe 20.
I like
22 is
well, now
clearly my favorite
36,000,
card.
36,000, 30,000, and 20,000. That's
And 22 is wow, what did it sell for?
Yeah, so 25 just sold for
30,000.
20
so,
2 minutes
so
ago.
Travis, you remember when we used to have those shows, we couldn't sell these things for $1? What these guys
Yeah.
are trying to say is we just sold, I don't know, 4 or 5 cards for like 50 grand or 100 grand here, right?
Yeah, we would go on YouTube
Crazy.
and like beg people. We go on the Discord and be like, anybody want to buy cards? Like, I didn't buy cards, but I was trying to talk other people into buying cards. I spent months trying to convince people to buy cards.
And this is another one. You tell all your friends, you go to the meetups, you go to your family, you go to everybody, you're like, oh, I'm making these really cool digital baseball card things on the blockchain. And I think they're really cool. Nobody bought them. Nobody's like, I'd like to get me $20 worth of that. Or, oh, can you show me how?
I think I did manage to talk a few friends into getting them, and thus preceded years of guilt because I figured I'd wasted their money. And now, strong friendship.
Dude, that's amazing, man.
Now the whole squad got
Absolutely.
Lambos.
Absolutely.
So after years of me
Absolutely.
being like, I'm sorry, let me get dinner. Now it's like, shit, man, you get me dinner.
All right. So
You bought more than I did.
not that the history matters, but let's keep rolling through it and let's try to ignore the whatever is happening out there. I don't know.
Dude, we can't ignore it, man. This is part of the
Then we made
Luckily, I'm sure there'll be more.
Then we made the future card number 10, and that was kind of the end of the cards to try to raise money for the project. And if we had raised
we
money,
decided to let it ride. We weren't gonna burn that one. The idea we just let 10 ride, and people could buy in it as they went, and it could kind of help fund things.
yeah.
But obviously, it didn't happen. We didn't use that money for that.
And after that, we started doing the artist cards. Ironically enough, we still are big Bitcoiners, of course. And the first cards we thought to do were all Bitcoin parodies. So Crypto Graffiti, our friend from San Francisco, is a great artist, does incredible work, better and better all the time, gave us number 11, which is BTC Keys. It's a parody of one of those British banks. I forget which one. And then number 12, Mine Bitcoin, which is, of course, MasterCard parody. Parodies are protected by Supreme Court law. And 13, BTC, which I think is the Citibank logo, one of those banks. But so those are some parodies.
Yeah, he sold shirts with those on them as well, and they got taken down. But the Curio.Cards didn't. He sold the stickers with that. All that stuff got taken down, despite it being apparently protected. But not the Curio.Cards; they're still up. And Crypto Graffiti, he was a part of the planning process for the art show we did the year before Curio. He's actually one of the big reasons why it happened. He approached me at El Rio and said, "Hey, I'm a Bitcoin artist," and I said, "What's that?" I heard of people like selling art for Bitcoin, but I not heard of people selling art about Bitcoin. Like that's how early this thing was. And so we did an art show based on that introduction. And then the next year when it came around, not only did he do the first artist card, but he was also a big part of those discussions for how to make this thing work. So a huge contribution. And
just recently, Crypto Graffiti's been pushing out the space as well, doing NFTs on Bitcoin. He's been doing some really interesting stuff. He also did some Lightning payments where they would split the Lightning payment and give some of it to each DJ that was playing the set, stuff like that. So definite shout outs to Crypto Graffiti. I wish he could join us today, but he's not here.
Yeah, he's super innovative and
yeah, pay attention to him. Just like follow on Twitter. He's always been really
super innovative. I mean, I love his cards. I love them, and obviously up until this week, they were like the cheapest cards. I bought a bunch of them because I just love his work and what he does and how he pushes stuff forward.
And like way back, before Curio, when he first did those logos, he had like stickers, and people would like stick the stickers on like bank ATM for that bank. And that was like a huge deal at the time. That was like this huge like guerrilla marketing, thing. No one knew if it was legal or not. And it was like this really big, controversial, influential marketing moment for Bitcoin. And that was all him.
And we continued to market Bitcoin on Curio.Cards, continuing with more Philippe cards, this time doing some of Philippe's parodies, which like you were saying about Crypto Graffiti, Philippe also sold these for t-shirts and things like that. We have cryptocurrency, Code is It, very obviously a Coca-Cola parody. Number 15, Bitcoin, good old fashioned digital cash, which is a Wendy's parody. and then Bitcoin cryptocurrency peer-to-peer, which is a Heineken parody. We already talked about 17, the UASF card that also has a fork, has a 17.
And if anyone wants to follow along on this, just go to gallery.curio.cards and you can see all the cards listed out.
We're also showing the cards on World Crypto Network on the YouTube channel and on the screen right now if you guys are following along on YouTube. Card number 18, Dogecoin to the moon, the 3 dogs on top of the Bitcoin rocket. Many people think predicted the future. And card number 19, this is one of my favorites by Crypto Pop. It's just got so much detail. It's got a dog and he's saying, you know, what coin should we pump next? There's a Monero reference in there somewhere. There's a dog slipping some coins under the table. It's just a great work. And it's instead of dogs playing poker, it's like dogs trading cryptocurrency. It's just super fun. And again, like this cartoony kind of style that he like. I really like the Crypto Pop.
I mean, so many people love those dogs and that style of. I've seen it just with people just buying it because they just love those cards, regardless of the tokens. Yeah,
the coins on the table. If you zoom in, each coin has a logo for what token it represents, and these were the thing in 2017. Like this was the market. These were the tokens, and some of them are still big. I think some of them don't really exist anymore. I can't recall what they all were.
It looks like
so there's like history.
BTC,
each stack of coins is history.
ZEC, DAS, XMR, LTC, and XRP. So yeah, a lot of those.
Got Litecoin on the table. Yeah. I mean, crypto never dies.
He's also got a dog with a pipe. Looks like there's a schnauzer in there. I'm all into schnauzers now.
First pipe on Ethereum.
First dog with a pipe. Disney wouldn't allow us to do that. There's no smoking in Disney movies. Then we went back to Philippe and again back to Bitcoin for the Mad Bitcoins card. At the time, card number 20, we hoped that we could use this card to raise funds for the Mad Bitcoin show. I could buy cameras and plane tickets and things like that. Again, that didn't really work out. But
were you able to get a pack of gum at least?
I don't think so. I mean, again, the artist royalties on this card go to Philippe now. And during the time period, we didn't really sell, like there wasn't a lot that were sold. So it wasn't like, let's buy Mad Bitcoins a camera. It was more like, at this point, we really tried to engage my audience, the Mad Bitcoins and the World Crypto Network people. But respect to my people, they are diehard Bitcoin maximalists. They don't give a crap about this Ethereum thing. So it didn't matter that I had really cool baseball cards and I was trying to trade them. They were not into it. Go ahead, Travis. Sorry.
Well, it's also, I think there was like Tatiana coin, which is like a fork of Bitcoin at the time. But besides that, and certainly on Ethereum, this is also like the first creator content coin, right? A coin for a like online creator, like it like represents them and their project and who they are, and it helps fund their work, buying a camera, etc. There's a whole market around this now. These personal cards, these creator cards.
This might also be the first card with a human face on it, the first person card. It's been interesting because it is a Photoshop. Let's be clear, that's James Bond's incredible body put on the Mad Bitcoin's head there, and a great looking tuxedo. But still,
but the hat's all real.
Oh yeah, the hat's real, and I'm stuck with the face. But very interesting. Card number 20 went back to the Bitcoin here, and then we went to the Robek cards. Maybe Adam could bring Robek back up on stage here. Card number 21, the Wizard. Again, clearly kind of a Mad Bitcoins thing. Just really nice.
I love that those are back to back. I really like those are back to back. I don't know if that was planned. I don't know if Robek knew about 20 when he was working on this series and put 21 first because of it. If we can get him back as a speaker, that'd be great. Because I love how those two cards touch in the deck.
I feel embarrassed by it, Travis. I tell you, I feel like every time I look at myself, what is wrong with me? And I do think, as far as like, if we want to be greedy, there's some really nice numbers in this set. So 21 is the magic number of Bitcoins, and it's also blackjack and everything. So I kind of think I wanted 21, but I think I also wanted 23 that Rhett's got, which is a great Discordian number. 2 + 3 is 5 and all of that. And 22 ain't bad either, Travis, just to say. It's
I don't think you can get first greedy person on the blockchain, unfortunately, Tom. I'm pretty sure there were some company people that beat you to it. I always really liked, like as someone outside looking in, I've always really liked that those two cards were kind of a pair, kind of like a mini set. And if future plans to create sets of cards, I think there should be like a Mad Bitcoin set with those two, and I like that they are partners. I don't look at this and think, oh man, Tom hogged this. Also, 20 is special too because it was released by itself. So it's number 10, number 20, and number 30. They're released singular. So like 1, 2, and 3, right? 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and then 10. So it got the whole week to itself. 10, 20, and 30. They get the whole week to themselves.
Again, we were testing anything to try to get these things to sell, and nothing
Yeah,
worked.
we
Right? We threw
focus,
everything against the wall.
Spotlight.
Yeah, we tried everything we could. We love this idea. We love these NFT.
Because now
ideas.
you just look at best practices, right? Say, what do the popular projects do? And you find new ways of mixing together. And we were forced to try a different approach. We just had to kind of experiment.
Well,
I think at 20, your 20 card is just about the coolest, picture you could ever have of yourself, right? So it's like
first gun on Ethereum.
First gun.
Maybe first bow tie on Ethereum too. It's hard to say.
Hey, bow ties are cool. But so there's 21, and then let's get back to Travis here with the open shirt, the Bard. Travis has a musical instrument, and he was to tell our story. Travis was going out into the world making speeches about Curio cards and stuff. Travis, anything else you'd like to say about your card, the 22?
Well, this one's unique in the Robek cards for being the only one that's not an illustration. That's a photo.
That's a photo.
Yeah. Robek drew all the other cards, but that's a. I mean, it's got a filter on it.
You're stacked.
That skin is exactly you, man.
I'm not saying there isn't like an Instagram filter on it. Obviously, the colors are popped a little, but.
And then we move on to card number.
I should also make it clear. I had no idea he was going to do that. I don't think, maybe you knew, Tom, but like when the cards were presented to me as here are my cards, I remember being surprised.
I think it might have been pitched to me that he was thinking about doing the team, and Robek's listening, but also Robek was big into the video game Gauntlet, and you can see here that these characters, the wizard, the bard, the barbarian, very much kind of Dungeons and Dragons classical characters here. And if you go back to the YouTube video, Robek made this incredible parody transition take of the Gauntlet television advertisement for the video game. And even at the end of the thing, it says like, buy your Curio cards. And I just thought it was the greatest thing ever. And again, we still, well, actually these ones, the story kind of changes, but go ahead, Travis.
Oh, I just say, I jumped on your stream, Tom, when you said you were running there. You can show people the video, maybe, if you think we have time for that side. I think the video is absolutely incredible. And I would consider it kind of part of these collections for sure. He was the only one artist that made a commercial to go with their cards.
Yeah, maybe Thomas can link to that or tweet it out.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
At some point. One question I had, and I just noticed it really for the first time. I know we're going to talk about 23 and Robek with his animated GIF and stuff, but I just noticed the numbering on 22 and 23, how that numbering is different than the rest of the set. Can you guys talk about that? Was there some meaning to that?
I think that mainly it's the orientation of the Travis card, the way that Robek drew it, the characters on the left. So we moved it to the right. So yeah, that's another unique thing about the number 22 card is it's the only card in the set with a number on the other side, I think. Unless I'm wrong.
Gotcha. And I will say, I did try to invite Robek up, but obviously he can't come up. And he made it very clear, I think it was maybe a week or so ago, when people were talking about, the animated GIF, it only has like 2 images or whatever. And he made it clear that was not his choice. He was being kind of limited by the text, I guess you could say. I don't know if you guys want to talk about that at all, what kind of limits he had on the text side.
Well, first,
yeah. Sorry, go ahead, Tom.
Well, just looking at the barbarian, we've got it up on screen here. As Adam is saying, it is, as far as we know, the first animated GIF on Ethereum, the first animated NFT, but it has very few frames. You can see Rhett is flexing and he's blinking. So yes, Robek is very limited. But Travis, go ahead and tell us about the technical limitations that was holding Robek back.
We're trying to keep, it was really just file size, trying to keep the file size down because we thought I mean, the plan was we're going to make a lot of these cards, right? We're not going to, I mean, we did a run to 30, and then we were going to kind of retool and then do another 30 and then retool and do another 30. And we were going to take that iterative approach. And we started thinking about, man, like as you scroll through all these cards, you try to load the whole page and there's all of these huge images, these huge GIFs, it's just going to be a bad user experience. We really wanted to have, more flexible format to storytelling, right? We wanted GIFs. So it was just kind of like testing the waters, kind of putting our toe in the water. Because it's not like a normal product where you can try something that doesn't work, you pull it. This is on IPFS, it's on the blockchain, it's released. We have this card forever, and we have the technical debt of it forever as well. And we didn't know if anybody would really care about the GIF idea either. So he was kind of like the alpha beta.
We hoped it would sell the card, right? Every little change, we're like, maybe that'll make it unique. That'll make it, jump over.
And if it had been a huge thing, and I mean, he did sell out, of course, but I think it was mostly people were commenting they like the set, they love the art, they love the collection, and it's a very limited number. But if people were like the GIF did it, we definitely would have explored different ways of compressing GIFs and doing higher res. Because you see things on OpenSea, it's like huge high fidelity GIFs, and obviously the technology on that's gotten a lot better too.
So what were Robek's numbers, Travis? You said they were lower than the others?
Yeah, he had like 500, 500, and 250.
And what was so interesting about this, because Rhett would create the contracts, and then maybe like the next day or something, we would do the show, the New Card Tuesday or whatever we were doing at the time. So there'd be a little gap there where if you were really into Ethereum and you knew how it worked, you could kind of watch the contract and you could buy as soon as the contract was in there. This didn't really matter because obviously no one was buying these things. But on cards number 20, 21, 22, and 23, it all changed. Something about those low numbers of 500, 500, and 250, somebody, and we still don't know, this is still a mystery to us, a true mystery. Somebody came in and almost bought all the cards. You guys can look it up on the blockchain. I think they bought 300, 150, something like that. They bought a lot of them. And we at the time, I thought it might have been our advisor, Rick Chan, that he had been really clever and just started aping in. We worried that it was like some kind of lost user who wanted to invest in an ICO, and he screwed up and he bought these cards. And, we never, we don't have any kind of warranties or anything. We can't tell people to not buy these. Like when the vending machines were up, we weren't encouraging people to buy them, that kind of thing. But yeah, so the cards were already gone by the time we did the show with Robek. You guys can watch that show. It's on Mad Bitcoins. And it's actually in the links below here in the description.
And I think this was, I know that the dogs and the Finite ones did well as well, but was it the first one to have a sellout, or did one of the dogs sell out as well?
No, I think this was our first sellout because what was great about the Robek's cards is we could just take that Ethereum from the vending machine and then we sent it to Robek. And we were like, great, perfect. We paid an artist. We're done. The rest of them, we never really could do that because we never really sold all the cards and we didn't have any money personally. Still don't, all that. But so yeah, we couldn't really pay them. This one, we could actually pay them. Robek was excited. He was, like we said, Travis, I don't know, we talked about it that much, but Robek was like our fan. Like Robek and Moon and Snow and these guys, they were the only ones who liked this thing. And Robek would actually send us art in the Slack, and they were like hand-drawn things with like an angry raccoon, and he was like, give me my cards. And there's another one where he's got his jacket open and he's like, I got some of these Curio.Cards. And it was just so fun to have an artist engaging with the project. And he understood how they were like baseball cards and they were rare, but they were on the blockchain and all that kind of stuff. So Robek was just really enthusiastic in the audience. And we asked him to do a set of cards.
I think it's just from a context perspective, what you just said, it's fitting, right, that his cards are now the kind of super valuable cards. It's kind of fitting. Like you said, he put in all this effort.
Yeah, it's definitely a really important artist for us. It's like the idea, like, wow, somebody who found the project through the project, who was able to submit artwork that went through like our process and got launched. It was like, it's not just us contacting artists we know or our friends or trying to reach different kinds of artists. This is showing that the project has the ability to promote artists just organically. And that was really important. And I think also Robek really cracked something with having them being different numbers. So 500, 500, and then 250. People would look at it and say, like, this is a set. They're clearly visually distinct. They came out at the same time. And it's important that I have one of each. But there will be people who can't. And I kind of created a sense of scarcity. Because before, be like, oh, there's 500 of them. I'll keep an eye on. If they start selling out, then whatever, I'll grab one of each. But they're like, wait a minute. There's going to be like half the people will not be able to have one of each. If I want to make sure I have one of each, I need to act quickly. And then you can see that idea definitely translated later. Like with the next cards, you can start seeing different numbers in the set.
And by the way, just to give everybody the running total, card, the floor, the cheapest you can get in the card 21 right now is 19 ETH, 22 is 30 ETH, and 23 is 20 ETH. So the board has been reset in the last 24 hours. It's absolutely amazing and bonkers.
And
Guys, can I just ask you a question in terms of your insight? Because obviously you guys are so knowledgeable throughout the years and been involved longer. What do you guys think are some sort of ballpark estimates of supply in terms of the rarest cards? I know we don't know exactly, but what do you guys think in terms of like how many are just kind of gone forever and how many might still remain?
I think a good amount of them that were bought back in 2017 are probably gone. I think like obviously the people who were really dedicated to the project, who were around back then, like, you know, Robek was there then, he's here now, you know, Moon, etc. Anybody who bought cards who's still around, they know. But a lot of people on Bitcoin talk forums that thought it was an ICO or thought it was like some sort of like marketing thing and like, oh, hey, like we should buy these apples because like in a week they're actually going to release a token and do this whole thing. And a lot of people, like once they realize, oh wait, this is an art project, they're selling digital art for artists. Oh, I'm not interested in that. They probably just like closed the tab and walked away. And I don't think they have any idea what's going on. They may not even remember they bought Curios. And they may not even have access to those wallet files anymore. Like there was no MetaMask. It's not an easy key. You have to have a key store file. It's this whole thing. So I think if you like look at the ones that were bought originally, aside from like those singular large purchases, which were probably somebody who's still around, I would kind of write off the rest. Not a lot.
So something like the rarer cards like 26 or 29. 25, like 100 mints, 200 mints. Would you think like most of them are gone, or like half, or those?
I know like 29. That's the rarest one, right? Or no, sorry, that's one's the
26 has the lowest count, has the lowest number.
I think 29. So if you look at 29, it mostly they were held by like one person bought a lot. So yeah. It's also like the three Robek ones Tom was just saying, right? Somebody went in and bought like half of them. The ones where like one person bought a lot, I think that person probably has a very high chance of still being around because clearly they cared a lot more about it, or they were a lot more involved, or they just have a bigger stake and someone just thinks it's an ICO. But every like smaller purchase, we wanted to go through and do like some analytics. If there was like a lot of people doing smaller purchases, I doubt you'll see those cards come back.
Wow.
Yeah, I think just my own kind of 2 cents on that. Certainly 29. Because of basically one person almost owning the entire.
Yeah, so they're safe in that regard. That person can bring them
supply.
Back.
They're definitely safe. It's just a question of how that person chooses to sell them and release them, and they have released and sold some already.
Because I remember the way people were talking about it in the Discord and the Telegram room. We don't have a Telegram anymore, but we had one back then. And there are people who really got it and were really excited. They're like, wow, this digital artwork. This is the way now the artists, work online can make money without, working at a game company or something. Those people, they understood what they were buying. But a lot of people, they're like, cool, free tokens, cool, ICO, I'm going to make money. I'm going to buy these and put them in a week. Everything's going up. And I doubt those people are long-term carers of the project.
Yeah. I think what we're seeing a little bit with the 21, 22, 23 is that you did have the large purchaser. So there's concern that, there's going to be a very limited supply of those available. And what was available or in private, hands that were willing to sell has all gone away. And now what we're left with on OpenSea is literally like one card available for sale. So that would be what you call diamond hands, and that's when you get crazy pricing, right? And so that's what we got right now. So even though, 26 might be the lowest in number, there are enough people, individuals who have, cards to make it more, what would you say, liquid, right?
Yeah, I think liquidity is a really important thing for if you're like a member of the community and you want your cards to be worth more money, if you want people to care and love, excited. I think like let's step back for a second. The biggest difference between Curio.Cards and CryptoPunks is awareness. And awareness means lots of people, and that means more people want to buy them, and that means more holders and more, more people, same supply. I think the big thing we need to do to really help liquidity to make it easier to trade and buy and sell and really just kind of price is encouraging more people to get involved. So that is going to, if you're sitting on a bunch of old native cards and you're not really sure if you want to wrap them or whatever, or if you just don't know about Curio, the people I've talked about who don't know, if we can reach them and say like, hey, that thing you bought, it's worth money. And they like, oh, cool. And they dig out their old wallet. That could be like, boom, 10 new cards released. And that could be significant for some of the lower supply cards.
Yep.
We need to reach those people. And we also just need to encourage just getting the word out.
Well, we see what happens just with not a little bit of an awareness. I mean, Gary Vee is a big amount of awareness, but he didn't even, it's not like Gary Vee tweeted about it. Gary Vee kind of mentioned us in his podcast, kind of did a little bit of stealth tweeting, but wasn't like, hey, I'm all in on Curio.Cards, right? And we've seen what's happened. The supply has been just completely sucked out for the limited edition cards or the smaller
snowball
cards.
That. Yeah, snowball like that. Because you look at Punks, and Punks people say like, "Wow, it's an overnight success." Right? It blew up. It got huge sales. It's one of those things where like every overnight success, it was like in works for many years. Punks is an older project as well, but people have known about them for a while. So when NFT started picking up, people are like, I know about an NFT. I know about Punks. So there's knowing about it for a while, and then when people start asking about things, you're like, oh, I have something to tell you about that. So Curio is now entering the phase that people are getting to know about it. And now when somebody asks the question, hey, what are some early NFTs? Before they say CryptoPunks, and that was it. Now they say like Ethereum, Mooncat reference, Mooncat Rescue, CryptoPunks, Curio.Cards, for all of them, etc. And that leads to more conversation. That leads to people like, oh, that's interesting. I like that about it. I like that it's the first one. I like that it's, cool art. I like that it was doing this thing in a very interesting, unique way. I like these stories. I like what makes it unique. And so they tell someone else, and then that person tells a lot of people. And you have to be known by a large group of people for a long time before some big event happens in the space. And there's a lightning rod moment, like what happened with NFTs most recently, and they blew up and they had mainstream culture and Saturday Night Live get on it, all that stuff. And when that lightning bolt moment happens, people look around and say, what are the NFTs of note? What are the NFTs of importance? And we're kind of getting Curio primed for that lightning bolt moment right now by getting the word out.
So and by the way, everybody's in the room. If you guys want to come up and ask questions after Thomas finishes running through the cards, I definitely want to have you guys up and ask questions, and we can all interact and stuff for sure. So
and I encourage you to jump on Thomas's YouTube. Go on YouTube, World Crypto Network. He's streaming some video to go along with this audio.
For sure. And also, guys, jump on the Discord as well. There's some really cool chats in the Discord if anyone is not in there. Sorry, don't mean to cut anyone off. My bad.
Discord.curio.cards. That'll take you straight to it. Also, you just go to Curio.Cards on the header. We got links to OpenSea. We got links to the wrapper. We got links to the gallery, links to the documentation, links to Discord. It's all in the top header, as well as that website just has the kind of historical reference of all the original contract addresses and artwork.
So I think we were.
So Thomas, you want to get into card 24?
Well, first I want to talk more. I want to talk more about Robek and how the squeaky wheel gets the grease, and that no one said that Robek, by contributing some line art and by showing up in the chat and by all those kind of things, that would lead to cards and it would lead to art fame and I don't know 50 Ethereum for 3 of them in the last hour or whatever. No one knew that at the time. But I think that everyone should learn that if you want to be involved in something, show up and start helping the people. And I just wanted to recognize Daniel and Groculus and let's see, Harry BTC, of course, Adam McBride right here. Aping, Flayed, some of these early guys who discovered this project and spread the word just because they wanted to. If you want to be
And I think
involved in
with-
something, like just show up and start helping out. Don't show up and be like, what can I do? Or that looks like a nice project. Just show up and start tweeting about it. Show up and start making screenshots, making art, whatever it is you do. And you can get in to any project that you want. So just start lowering those boundaries and those barriers, because we're very approachable here. I think most people on the internet are, especially if you show up and if you contribute. You're like, I organized this. I made, like, we've had people that made, the gallery, people that made the other pages with the numbers of the cards and how many there are. And Robek has some kind of a 3-dimensional thing you can walk through. All of these were contributed by other people who just wanted to be involved. So if you want to be involved in something, this or any other project, get out there and volunteer and just be involved.
Yeah, someone in the community organized the 4-year anniversary party. They just showed up and did it. This is, I think, what people need to realize. Like, this, we're not a company. This isn't a product. This is a permissionless thing. I try to reiterate this every time. I think Tom said it very, very well. If you have a thing like, hey, Curio would benefit from this, find the people, put it together, make it happen. You will find reward from that in some way. I mean, being part of these communities, if the thing you create adds value, and you're there while it's happening, there's gonna be I don't know exactly how it'll work out, but it generally tends to work out.
Well, and just today in the chat, somebody, sorry, I forget who it is, but they got us added to NFT Trader or something like that. And I don't even know what
that was
is.
me.
Hey, shout
That
out,
was me.
Daniel. You're the man. So again, we didn't tell him to do that. We didn't ask him to do that. He didn't have to. He was like, I want to do it. I did it. And then later he reported in chat that it's done, that they added us and people can trade us now. So if there's anything like that you want to do, listing us on some directory or mentioning us to some important person, it's up to you to do that. This is the Wizard of Oz, right? You're already the scarecrow. You already have the brains. Like, you can already do it.
If you have to like wait to review all these wonderful ideas, just gets in the way of the wonderful ideas. I don't want to be a gatekeeper. Thomas doesn't want to be a gatekeeper. There's no technical reason why there should be gatekeepers. These are open assets on an open protocol.
And if you're a programmer out there, and if you want to make a game where these would be game pieces or anything else like that, these are just, ERC7 or ERC20 tokens. You can just use them. And that's what I really look forward to with these NFTs. And I think it's going to drive everybody crazy, is stuff like when, ID Software releases a BFG, and then pretty soon you could use the BFG in World of Warcraft, and then you could use the BFG in Pac-Man, and all these kind of things where the assets are going to be reused by other companies in ways that they were not expecting. And that's where I think this whole thing goes to a second level. But let's, like Adam was saying, let's get through this roundup of the cards. Let's get back to that. So the next ones, the artists were choosing their own numbers now. And this is again where this isn't somebody that we know from, personally, although it is funny because Daniel does live in Davis, which is Davis, California, where I went to high school. And I live near there and very aware of Davis, as it turns out. But from the internet, again, we had this form, a Google form. Anyone can set them up. They're great. And we were collecting information about artists that wanted to be Curio card artists. So you had to go and fill out the form, what your name is, where your Flickr account, your portfolio. And Daniel sent his in as one of the options. And when we went to his art on Flickr, one of the main things that we noticed is that this was very unique art, that it was all hand drawn. It was clearly pen and paper. To me, it looked like somebody that was bored in class, but they just had a lot more symmetry and a lot more exactness to their drawings than maybe my drawings would look like. And for those reasons, we chose Daniel's cards. And Daniel asked us to do 333, 222, and 111 for his card. So when people talk about these being very rare, like this 26 card, it's actually the set limiter. There can only be 111 complete sets of Curio cards. I'm told from the other wrapper, they might have lost maybe 5 or 6 cards. So maybe 105, 106 possible complete sets. So it's interesting.
Yep. And I'll jump in here to give, Daniel couldn't make it tonight. But I did have a podcast with him, so I got some in-depth reasoning for his the numbers, which I think was interesting. He just liked the symmetry of 333, 222, 111. One funny thing was though, and he didn't even realize it when he was giving you those numbers, was that it adds up to 666, right? And he was kind of horrified when somebody pointed that out to him or when he realized it, and was very relieved when I told him it looked like 5 of the cards, number 26, got lost in that wrapper incident. And he was very relieved that broke the symmetry.
And now the same thing happened on these cards.
It made sense for him.
The same thing happened on these cards that happened on the previous set, is that they sold out. Maybe because of their extreme rarity, maybe because Robek just got paid for his cards. Nobody really knows, but these cards are very rare. Moving on now to another artist who's joining us tonight. Cards 27, 28, and 29 were by the Marisol Vengus Art Collective. This is actually a person that I knew. We'd gone to Burning Man together a couple of times, and I knew about his art as well in Chico. And here we have, representing the art collective, I'm not sure if he's with us, Max Infeld.
Hey.
Max, are you with us?
Yeah. Hey, what's up, guys? Sorry, I'm having trouble following this conversation with all the sales up on OpenSea. It's pretty wild.
It's been unbelievable.
Yeah,
tonight. I can't. If I was looking at it, I don't think I could focus. I still.
Bro, it's addictive. You just start hitting refresh, man. It's addictive.
I closed the computer. I closed it. I'm done for a while, for at least half an hour.
So Max, why don't you tell us a little bit about 27, 28, and 29? There's blue, pink, and yellow, and they look different from the other art. It's not just a line drawing. Tell us a little more about the art.
Yeah. So when I was in college, more than 10 years ago, I was very obsessed with doing a series of works that I couldn't present to my fellow peers. I found aliases were the best way to sell and distribute artwork. I was like super into community engagement in art. So basically, like using like a hive, or kind of like a the audience is kind of on the same level as the artist. So I turned into more of like a stage director and kind of the like a proponent to some activity, and so I'd get a bunch of friends together and kind of have projects for them to participate and sign up and get some value out of. So so the Marisol Vengus is one of those projects, it's really, there's a ton more of those pieces. Those are some of the more visually interesting ones. Really,
these are actual physical, real world artwork, right, Max?
Oh, yes. And more importantly, those are some of the first physical artworks as NFTs. So I think Daniel has his originals too. I've spoken with him about this. So I think there's 6 physical artworks in Curio, and those are 3 of them. And I just got to say this, I've had some insane offers for them. And I'm like, I don't even know how to handle it. It's overwhelming. So if you guys have any ideas on how to sell them or get them out there, just let me know.
So after the 28 and the 29 cards, which I think they sold. I think these actually sold. Again, we had kind of an early sellout happening here. And they also did limited numbers,
these
right?
2 sets too, like Daniel and the Marisol ones, they were important to us because we wanted to highlight, art from outside of crypto space as well. Like, this is like physical. These are physical things that were then, republished on a new medium as a token to kind of show the power and the flexibility of NFTs, that you can use them as essentially another medium, the way a photographer might, have multiple different like prints and styles, and they'll put it on, different materials, the things they created, and we wanted to demonstrate that.
Does anyone know are those considered the first physical items represented on Ethereum?
I don't know if there was a real estate project or anything back then.
Somebody put some weird certificates on Ethereum that might count for that. But I do think within the realm of art.
We certainly never made the claim that these tokens represent ownership of the physical asset. Like, these were a reissuing of that thing on a new medium. It wasn't if you had this, then you had the physical one. Just given how early this is as an art NFT project, i.e. the first, even though these are later cards, CryptoPunks didn't do anything like this. So there's certainly the first art NFT that represented, the referenced real objects.
This might
Oh, man,
also
so
be
cool.
the first
Hello?
work of a collective. As Max was saying, many artists in the past worked with collective people like Leonardo da Vinci and other people, even like Tom Sachs, a modern artist, where just tons of people work in their workshops. They make the art for them. Maybe the artist describes the art, directs the art, but Leonardo wasn't doing every brushstroke and every painting. So it's pretty common in art.
I was though.
And we're joined by Robek. Before we go to card
Hey,
number
yo.
30, let's show a little bit. Here's Robek's commercial for his Curio cards. You guys should be able to hear this in the chat. I'll describe it to you. And on YouTube, you can watch. Well, I know it's the audio medium.
Can you do interpretive dance?
Yeah.
in
So
the
here we go.
Twitter Spaces?
Robek
That's the
World
first commercial for Ethereum
for an Ethereum NFT.
on
It doesn't have
YouTube.
doesn't show the date right here, but yes, here we go. Robek World, mycuriocards.com.
The evil Ico goblins have stolen all the ether. Who will save Ethereum? Wizard, bard, barbarian. These three heroes must go on a dangerous adventure to free the ether and to start up the Dark Goblin King.
If you want the riches, you'll have to conquer my dungeon.
So cool. So if you guys weren't
Hey,
watching,
you want to hear something interesting? Do you
Sure.
hear where it says "Help Save Etheria" at the end of it?
Yeah.
I didn't know Etheria was a project at the point. We were actually doing our own project at the same time called Etheria, but it had like the AE, like like the fancy AE. So we were like, okay, well, we weren't. I'm not trying to embellish and expand the story. It was just like Etheria sounds like a really cool fantasy like world name. So I'm gonna go with that. And then we were working on like a mud that we wanted to drop like ERC20 tokens as like game assets. But of course that's gone. But we did a 10 grand version. And anyway, Etheria, it's just interesting because I don't know, it kind of references Etheria, right?
It
The
does.
other
It
project.
does seem like it referenced Etheria.
And that's what I didn't know about Etheria either. I didn't find out about Etheria until like a month after the rediscovery in March. And
Are we?
yeah, that's
are
just
we
really,
are we
really
the
fun
first
that we had a
NFT?
reference to it.
Yeah, we're the first NFT project to reference another NFT project.
Hey,
Completely by accident.
Ah,
I hope somebody's keeping track because that's about 30. We're up to about 30 just from tonight.
But for you guys who weren't able to watch the video, it's kind of the commercial for Gauntlet, the video game from the 1980s. And there's all these kind of dungeons and there's a monster. And Robek redid all the voices. You can hear that's all. I don't know. Somebody did the voices.
Well,
And
it's remixed from a lot of stuff like D&D, Gauntlet, a couple other things, which is we can get to copyright later. But yeah, keep going.
Did you just pull? So you pulled the video off of other videos? Is that how you
It's
did it?
found footage, quote, found footage. It's questionable, I suppose, in the usage of the footage. It's just remixed footage where I edited the footage and I did the voiceovers and I did the effects and all that stuff. So Tom can keep going.
there's a lot of like VHS imagery going over it. It kind of skips at points. There's a lot of like neat stuff that Robek put on top of this. I edit videos too, so I notice a lot of this stuff. At the end, though, is really the best part. It says My Curio Cards. It's got a little Curio logo at the top, and it's got an actual picture of the Barbarian, the Wizard, and the Bard cards. That's interesting. Looking at it now, they didn't have the numbers on them yet. That's pretty interesting. You don't see them without the numbers. But yeah, this is an amazing little commercial that Robek made just to celebrate his cards. And just once again, we didn't ask him to make this commercial. We didn't force him to do it. He wanted to be involved in the project and just.
And what happened?
Great stuff.
What happened
Robek.
when my cards dropped?
They all sold because
They're
of
all
this
sold out.
ad. Because of this ad.
Yeah, just 100% because of that ad, I'm sure. Yeah.
It's got
Truly,
200
truly.
Where
views.
did that ad? First of all, where did that ad run? Was there even? I mean, where did you put that? Just on YouTube? Was that on YouTube?
Yeah,
back then?
I think 4 people saw it.
Here's
I
a-
know this for a fact. One Curio video that I found, looked at because I looked through YouTube to find out what you guys did and stuff. One video had seriously 30 views, and I was the first person to comment on it. Nobody commented on it, and first person to comment on it 2 months ago, right?
Well, and this video
You guys
actually would be really hard to find. It says that it's unlisted because I was searching for it. But the way I
The
actually
original
found it,
video.
this one, the way I actually found it, this was great. There's a link in the NFT. So actually in one of the like Barbarian or the Wizard NFT, there's a link to this video. So it's pretty cool.
The original video was actually hosted on a open source free software like YouTube alternative. I cannot remember what it was called, but I was like going super hard into it, like just making a ton of content for it. And so I had to re-upload it to YouTube because the platform shut down because nobody supported it. But yeah, that's the sad part of some of the stuff that, like, even though if you do open source or you do free software work, it doesn't mean that it will persist, which is why this kind of technology is super exciting. And
A
now
little bit of
it's
another card update. 8 minutes ago, a number 26 sold. Robek, congratulations. You sold another one of those 26s. So now the floor on 26 is 10 each. There you go, man.
Yo, guys, can I just jump in? Like, I don't know
Yeah.
I don't know what, stroke of luck I happened to me in life, but I just, like, 3 days ago when I first, found Curio.Cards, I was like, just for whatever reason, I looked at the supplies and I was like, fuck it, I'm gonna just get a 26 and a 29, and I've just been holding them. So I don't know what I should do now.
Bro, good for you, man. Congratulations, bro. You've been at it 3 days. These guys have been at it 3 years. But
I
no
mean,
worries.
yeah, like I don't know, man. Like I just
No, good for you, brother.
it's
That's
too much.
awesome,
It's
dude.
like I don't feel like it's real, but I'm just gonna I'm not gonna list anything, or actually I have the 29 listed at 100 each, but I'm just gonna leave that there.
Hey, man, you never know, bro. You never know, man.
You never know.
Awesome, bro. Wait, so you bought what? You bought a 26? What'd you pay for the 26? Like 1.5?
Yeah, like 1.5 for the 26.
Did you
like,
get that from Robek, or who'd you get that from?
I think from Robek, but I don't remember, to be honest.
Yeah.
And then I got
for the
29.
greater good, guys. Now
Yeah.
I have nothing left to give anybody because everyone has stabbed me in the kidney and taken all my assets. So
and then
congratulations.
you got a 29. How much did that one cost you, man?
I think that was about just under 2, maybe.
Wow, good for
Yeah.
you, brother. Good
Thanks
for
a lot.
you, man.
Thanks a lot. Appreciate it.
Congratulations,
Yeah,
dude.
those are some.
Hey, you
those
might.
are some-
What's that's good timing, man.
those are some.
Good.
I don't
excellent
I don't
buys.
know,
Those are
man.
very
Maybe
rare.
I must have helped an old lady cross the street or something. I don't know what happened.
Man,
You just
that
gotta
is a-
pay it forward now, man. You gotta pay this good fortune forward.
100%. I mean, it's all on paper, right? Obviously, we never know. Like, it might
That's right.
not be like a crazy. I've been in this sort of crypto space and stuff for a couple of years, so I know better than to, for me, it's not real until it's like in your bank account, and even then, it's like wouldn't really be yelling from the rooftops about it. But yeah, I'm definitely just gonna keep my mouth shut in like real life and not count this as like money at all until it's, and I don't plan on selling anytime soon. I don't need the money, so I like being part of the journey. It's a really cool project. So yeah, I'm here for, maybe I'll sell one or something, but I'm not going to
Yeah.
sell them both for sure.
Nice, dude. Wait, so are you blah 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 blah? Is that you?
Yeah, that
on
might
OpenSea?
that my IRS has entered the chat. Yeah, that might be me. Yeah.
That might be you. I can neither confirm nor deny. 'Cause I'm just
Exactly.
seeing that. Yeah, that's good, man. Hey, dude, congratulations, brother. I love to see success, man.
I'm just happy to be here. Thanks, guys.
That's great.
All right, so I think we're reaching the end of our card journey. I just want to do the one more card. Card number 30. I think it's designed by Thoros of Mir, which is another alias, and I'm not even sure who that is. But as you guys can see, it's an animated GIF. It has a lot more frames than Robek. I think technically they'd kind of figured out IPFS. They had a better way of doing it, something like that. It also looks a little dithered if you want to get to the GIF.
I'm
talk.
so mad about it, to be honest. And I don't mean to add color here, but like all of you in the chat saying, well, 2 frames isn't technically animate. I am aware of this. I have done animation that is actually up to larger than 2 frames, even 3 frames sometimes. So like I had originally asked for 3 frames and they only gave me 2 because of technical limitation. So
And
just wanna
then
put that on.
and then they let a full video. How many frames?
Yeah,
did
then
you
they have
clip that
what?
1,000 frames.
freaking 144 frames over here. Like, come on.
Wait, so the artist is totally anonymous?
What did
Like,
they
no
learn
one
in
knows
like
the
that
artist.
2 month period that they could, do so many more frames? Thomas, what's that about?
I don't know. You got to ask Travis and Rhett. I mean, Rhett's more of the technical guy. To answer Daniel's question, I think Travis might know who the artist is, but you'd have to ask him. I don't have any information. But as you can
He never. I asked him directly. He did not share because he said, it's kind of a maintain anonymity. My personal belief is it's Travis himself. That's my personal.
Well, and I wanted to interview all these people, so it's a bummer not to have that. But this card here, the Eclipse card, was released on 8/26/2017, which is also the day of the big eclipse. I don't know if you guys watched it. I remember going out to the roof of my San Francisco apartment, and I had those little eclipse goggles on, so I didn't lose my eyesight. And you could look up into the sky and see the eclipse for a full minute. And here, the eclipse card, you can see the Curio raccoon. This is version 2.0, moves in front of the sun, blocking the sun, says eclipse in the corner. And I think this is kind of a beautiful and a sad but a fitting end for the Curio card project, at least this early version, where we had 30 cards. We did a bunch of new card Tuesdays. We tried to involve as many people as we could, and then just like the eclipse, the project went away. The project was a temporary thing. It passed in front of the sun and then it moved on. So it's kind of a beautiful goodbye to the Curio card set. Travis, you're back with us. Are you ready to reveal the artist here? Pressure is on.
I thought you knew who they were, Tom.
There's a general feeling that you are the artist.
No, I can 100% confirm it is not me. I am not this talented. There's a lot of cool animation going here. I heard a mention of dithering. That is the result of a technical limitation. Like, well, let's see what kind of compression we can do to get this thing to fit. The artist that created this was much higher resolution. It's extremely sharp, extremely beautiful. Also, you'll notice the supply. There's 821 of them. That's the day of the eclipse, 821.
That was
the only reason why the only reason why the artist isn't in these chats, isn't being interviewed, doing all these things, is they are just an extremely private person and have requested the highest levels of anonymity and privacy. But I have let them know at any point, they can show up and we'll give them roles and reward them and all that stuff. But like privately, I made sure they have cards. They are part of the artist royalty multi-sig. So they are in the server, just they are not as themselves. And
Travis, another question. How is it that you learned so much from Robek at number 23, where he's only allowed 2 frames, to number 30, where you allow 1,000 frames? How did that happen, man? What happened in that time frame where Robek was under such constraints, and then by 30, you were able to have a full.
We probably could have figured it out for Robek, but it was sort of like this kind of loose idea, like maybe we try a GIF, and it just there was so much demands on time to get all this stuff to work and happen that it just didn't really justify the resources to try to solve that problem. But when it did really well, we started asking around, okay, how can we do a more involved GIF? And that
you also had to deal with blind trust from some lunatic who's been just shit posting at you guys for a month straight. And it's like, well, give me all these animation frames and all this.
Yeah, I think we're getting to the core here.
Okay, yeah. There definitely was a concern. There's a concern he's going to drop a 50 megabyte file on me and be like, here's my GIF. And since, we kind of let the artists do whatever they want, then I'd have to say no. And up to this point, we had not said no to an artist. But if he gave me some, 15 megabyte file, then that, I didn't want to have that. I didn't want to limit them. So I just kind of upfront said, okay, we could totally do a GIF. It's a very interesting idea. But there's a requirement to keep it small. I just wanted to front load that requirement so that we wouldn't run into a problem later.
That's very cool. I wanted to open it up if anybody who's down in the audience wants to come up, chat, ask questions, whatever. Now's the time. I'm happy to bring anybody up who wants to speak. Say something.
And Kian is in this chat as well, and should call him out. He was also, original part of this. He was one of the people who showed up. He's a friend of mine from outside of Curio, and he made the wallet when we launched. MetaMask technically existed. Like if you look at MetaMask's release date, it was out, but it was like some janky beta thing. It didn't work very well. It was very unsupported. Also, there wasn't really an understanding that it was a good idea, because you're essentially telling everyone who wants to interact with Ethereum has to download a plugin, and that seemed like an unnecessary barrier to entry compared to an already very high barrier of entry of this crypto itself. Now it's gotten a lot easier. The user onboarding process is really really good. But at the time, it wasn't really a slam dunk. So we had, and meanwhile, there were other web-based wallets. So Rare Pepe had an amazing web-based wallet. You just you just go to the website and it generates keys for you right there. No plugin, no nothing. And MyEther wallet did the same thing. So Kian forked MyEther wallet, because we had been using MyEther wallet, and people had to go in and manually add the card token address. We had a whole long documentation process on it, and it was a huge pain in the ass. And Kian forked MyEther wallet and hard coded all the contract addresses, and we got to delete all the documentation and be like, here, use this. That was a massive contribution to the project very early on.
I tried to invite him. I think I tried to invite. I did try and invite, but I don't know if he's certainly Kian. If you want to raise your hand, I can't. Doesn't seem like I can get you up, or maybe sometimes leaving and coming back in. And raise your hand. Love to have you speak and talk about it, man. But anybody else want to come up? Dis, you want to say something, man? I know Dis loves to talk about Curio.
Hey, can we get Coach up?
Yep, absolutely.
We don't have to. I just wanted to
hear
his voice.
I invited him. I'm trying to invite you guys. If you're not getting my invite, because as I push the button and I pull it up again, it doesn't seem like they're getting invite. Somebody in the audience raise their hand.
Bring them up. Bring them up.
Oh, there we go. There, it's working. You got it. Coach is up.
All right, I got it. What's up, guys?
What's up, Coach? How you doing?
How's everybody?
Living the dream, baby.
Yeah, no. So, just really appreciate the time. Everybody's putting in a lot of work and doing a lot of legwork to get the word out there, and it's to get the opportunity to kind of see it come full circle. Even from 2017 is has been a great thing. To be honest, I kind of really got back in the NFT space probably around January, and the first real step was Mooncats, and I remember that from 2017 being the first kind of push to do something with Ethereum is kind of the way that I remember it, because I was getting into Bitcoin and mining Ethereum, and I remember the day I saw that website and I was like, I don't get this.
Did you try to rescue one in 2017?
So I went to the website and I kind of logged in, and I got to the point where I was like, I need to give them my Ethereum to do this. I don't know about that. And so I balked at it, right? And but I remember the spinning moon on that website very vividly. So when I got back to that website, I was like, you've got to be fucking kidding me. This is that website, and people are going crazy today right now. Yeah. And so, that was kind of the first foray into what are those 2017 projects? And then to kind of get a hold of this one when people days earlier had started to get them out of the vending machine, and to kind of miss it by just that much, but still be in that Discord before the wrapper was done and doing over the counter trades. And you just knew, you were like, this is the way, this is NFT archaeology, right? This is the paleontologist version of NFT stuff. And the group felt good, and the Discord was good. And obviously then some stuff with wrappers went on, but to be here 3 months later and to kind of get some people's attention that really can push it forward. I'm just really proud of all the artists that hung on, and all the people that stuck with the project. And, serendipitously the node was running and it didn't completely vanish into the ether. And so just kudos to everybody, and to be here 3 months later, on a space with 50 plus people. There's just a lot to be proud of. And just as somebody that watched it, like didn't do anything, like just kind of came into the Discord. Like I just wanted to give credit where it's due and tell everybody like it's just great to be in this space and to be in that Discord and to watch artists really be getting recognized through this.
Sure, man.
So for
For
sure.
sure.
What you're saying about the community, I just reminds me too. Like I think it was Diaping or it was Slade. I'm not sure. I apologize. It was mentioned earlier when they did that archaeology, when they refound Curio, they could just bought all the cards and then like lorded over it. But no, they wrote a guide. They like went on Twitter and like posted screenshots and like explained how it worked. And you know, when they couldn't find the Discord at first, like you know, they just started like there was like another one that was set up and just really amazing people involved.
And that's a great point, Travis. Because it's the same thing happened with Mooncats. Like I will be honest, like I know enough about cryptocurrency. Like I knew about MetaMask. Never in my life had I interacted directly with contracts. Like, and if I wouldn't have had people willing to take the time to write that up step by flipping step, I wouldn't have known, you know, the way to interact with the wrapper once it was made, or how to unwrap the ones that, you know, I initially wrapped in the unofficial contracts to make sure they were ready for yours. So just
and
this,
the video that was created for the wrapper to help make that easy too. If you haven't seen it, there was a video that was made. So like Kian and some of the people, they put together this really cool website, and then a video was made showing how to use it, and it's got like the voiceover is like professional. They're not a full-time professional voice actor, but they've done voice work in the past. And like the joke is that's Curio talking. And it's just a really good video, and I'd encourage watching it. It was really useful because like we were like pushing this wrapper out really fast, trying to explain to everyone how this stuff works, trying to like educate everyone, everyone's trying to help each other out. No one really knows what's going on. And at that moment, we really needed a nice, clean, easy to use tool that was, you know, just worked really well, really flawlessly, and that was delivered along with really great documentation.
I think, Coach, you and I share a very similar path into the NFT space. Exact same thing for me. Those that, although I did not see Mooncats back in 2017, that whole rescue really and you know, interacting with the contracts and all that sort of stuff was kind of my wake up call too. And I feel very, very fortunate to be even able to have and interact with all these good people, because I mean, it really is just filled with great people. The entire crypto space is, it really is, and especially this project. Wow, just such amazing people. Just everybody, thanks so much for joining tonight. I really, really appreciate it.
Yeah, this was awesome. Thanks, guys. Amazing job, Adam. You really killed it with the hosting. Thanks, bro.
Looks
hey
like
guys,
Adam,
just really.
Yeah, go ahead.
Hey Adam.
I
was just gonna say really quick. We talked about like, you know, the history of Curio. We kind of see a little bit like what's going on right now with the crazy sales and the, you know, influencers. But where do you guys think it's gonna go? I just want to throw that out there to everyone and see what you know, what you speakers think of that.
Well, for me, I mean, I'm of the mindset that I take a longer term view of like what I own for Curio.Cards. I may sell some now, you know, to take a little bit of money off the table. But for me, I'm looking at like a 10-year cycle for my Curio.Cards. Like what's after a big down cycle and prices drop, and we're 10 years in the future, and people really look back at NFTs and go, wow, this is a really cool time where they had this whole rediscovery period and this giant hype cycle of all the avatar projects. And all those went back to zero. You know, what are the ones, you know, much like Daryl said earlier, what are the ones that are kind of were part of history, like really moved the ball forward? And for me, Curio is going to hold like, you know, one of the key positions there. And so I'm super, super bullish long term. That's my view.
One of the big things that stopped us from making big claims before about that significance, about that enduring quality, right? The enduring value, the fact that it has this historical significance, was it's so hard to like prove a negative, or to say it's the first only works until someone says, what about this? I can prove when it happened, but I can't prove there wasn't anything before. But now we have proven that, because of the level of attention, the level of like fanatical obsession that went into finding it, and also the fact that they came at it from that direction. When they found Curio, they didn't look at Curio and say, "Hey, is this old?" They said, "Let's go find the oldest NFT. Let's go find the oldest art project on Ethereum," and they found Curio that way. And to have somebody who does nothing about us come from that approach was just extremely validating. And yeah, it gives it that kind of enduring value, that enduring story. The 10-year cycle is interesting. I mean, like you look at CryptoPunks, right? That's like a 4-year cycle. I know they had some big sales over the years, but it's you come out in 2017, people kind of know about it. The market goes through its whole bear bull thing, and then something happens, and NFTs are suddenly extremely interesting.
Yeah, I mean, we get a lot of people in and anybody who wants to jump in, go for it. But I do get a lot of, young guys who kind of just jump into something and get lucky. And they're like, well, should I sell? Should I sell? And it's like, they turned their only $2,000 into $40,000, and they're asking me if they should sell, and they're living in their mom's, basement. I'm like, yes, you should sell, right? But for those of us who are lucky enough to be in a position to, hold long term, it's a really
nice. If you don't need to,
Yeah.
don't. If they could have a powerful impact on your life, I encourage you to. I mean, that's
Absolutely.
the story I want to tell. When somebody asks me like, hey, what good in the world did the project do? And I could be like, it had a powerful impact on people's lives, not just the artists, but also the people who cared about that art, cared about the collection. And if you got 2 of them, you sell one and you keep the other.
That's right. Yep. Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, for me, the most valuable thing about Curio.Cards is it's actually really, truly not the cards. It's the connections I've made with people. And I think that's just something that, my work in the NFT space now, and I'm working on a project to build a decentralized music platform. I wouldn't have got hooked up with that team if Curio didn't lead me and Mooncats and all this whole thing didn't lead me down that path to meet that team, And so for me, it's part of just this rich history of my life, and how Curio.Cards fit into that is meaningful. And
that's a beautiful story. Yeah. I completely agree. I mean, a lot of the people that I work with, a lot of people that Curio works with, was found by being involved in the community. And I encourage people to stay involved. And one of the best ways, obviously if you're older, then you have that kind of constant interest. If you find yourself, I was just thinking like, hey, what if you only have one card and it's like a really big one, and like, oh my gosh, that money got a powerful impact. And if you sell, like, you're kind of like not a part of it anymore. You could like sell a big card and then buy a bunch of more common cards. And that way you still have a stake in the value of the project. And, these values will increase proportionally, like the rarity factor kind of spread out. The lower value ones will go up as well as the higher value ones. And you can still stay involved that way as well.
Yep.
The kind of that distribution of value, or the way the cards are have different rarity factors, can be a really powerful tool.
Absolutely. Anybody I just pulled up Ezra, or anybody want to have anything to say?
Yeah, I mean, piggybacking off of what Travis said, that's kind of the thing that I find the most interesting is the supply, and like kind of tracking that. Before I bought, I discovered Curio.Cards July 2nd, so like only 2 weeks ago, and I made this spreadsheet to figure out, what the supply was for the unwrapped, what the ratio was for like, what's the average amount held for complexity, and finding out that ratio. So I was wondering if this is kind of a two-parter. One, are there any tools that you guys know of for tracking the supply other than, the gallery there, and then OpenSea? Maybe like, I guess I'm asking if you know of a way to automate the tracking of that, or maybe have like a chart of what has been wrapped.
I'm hoping you can build that for us, man. Is there any way you can build that for us, brother?
That was, yeah. I'm like, how can I?
You not to do it by yourself. I'm interested in this, and other people are interested in this. That's another thing too. Like we said earlier before, hey, you have an idea, do it, and that's kind of half the story. That's not fun. Don't do it by yourself. go into the channel, recruit people, you know, be like, hey, who wants to do this? Let's form a, you know, alpha team, you know, let's get it done. And you might find a lot of really interesting board resources just by kind of asking around.
Perfect. So that's what I'm doing here. If anyone wants to help me build that, whether it's a spreadsheet or some kind of, you know, just online tool, like, let's connect. Ezra with a camera.eth on Discord.
It would be great to get a Twitter sales bot as well. I'm so not technical. Like, I'm so dumb when it comes to that kind of stuff. I don't even know how that works, but it would be awesome to have a Twitter sales bot. I think that it helps drive momentum and sort of like constant reminder to people of what's the action. I think it really helps stay top of mind with like all the noise these days out there.
I mean, should we have like a projects channel in the Discord where you like post ideas and then people can like flag their interest and then you can all like create a DM group?
Awesome. That would be awesome.
I mean, maybe just do it off topic for now, or, you know, just we can make something. I don't want to like make channels, you know, too many channels obviously gets confusing. But I'd say like post your idea, ask people to like, you know, check mark if they're interested, and then just DM everybody who check marked it or something. I don't know.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. I mean, we've already seen, it's amazing how people will, you know, just do stuff because of they want to build stuff. It's amazing, right? And we've seen it. Travis, what's the address for the leaderboard? Just so
I
people
think
know
it's
that
leaderboard.curio.cards. It's also on, if you go to Curio.cards, that's the website. It's so cool. There's a .cards address. We've had that domain since the beginning. You go to Curio.cards, there's a link to leaderboard at the top, but I think it's just leaderboard.curio.cards, and I absolutely love that one. It's done in the same art design style as the wrapper. It was done by the same person. Ian made both of those. And I think the leaderboard website has been a hugely good tool for promoting value. Like, I don't want to say like a marketing tool. It's more like kind of just letting people kind of internalize and understand the value of a full set. It creates this goal. I think it's also made kind of unique to Curio as well. There's no like full set mechanism in these other early NFT projects. You can have some very rare ones, but the idea of there's some sort of like goal. It kind of reminds me of early in Bitcoin, there was this idea of the 21 million club, or the 21 club, or the million club was one of those kinds of things. But the idea of you have 21 Bitcoin, that's the crazy thing to say now, but you know, we're talking about it was like a couple $100. If you have 21 Bitcoin, you are in a group that can only ever have 1 million people in it. Like, there's a limit to how many people can be in that club because there's only 21 million Bitcoin. And it'll be less people because some are lost, etc. Some people hold more than one. With Curio, the lowest supply, that would be the Daniel card, which was a 111, but then 5 were lost. So, you know, it was like 106 or something. And there's definitely people out there that hold more than one. So that's a very small club if you can get into the full set club. I like that. I think it's really kind of a fun idea, or at least get close. The leaderboard tracks people who have like, there's other clubs, right? There's the 29 club, the 28 club, you know, for every, you get 22 of the cards, you're in the 22, you know, it shows those groups.
Yeah. And well, if you go there right now, leaderboard.curio.card, there are 7 with full set, and 1 with 29, and 2 with 28. And the 2 with 28, that's Daryl. So Daryl, we'll see if he's able to get those last 2 cards. He tweeted about it tonight, just so you guys know. If you follow his Twitter, he did tweet about the 2 cards he's missing. And he told me specifically, he DM'd me, he said, look, I just don't want to pay outrageous prices. So, but he is interested in doing a private sale. So if any of you guys have those cards and want to do a private sale with him, who knows, maybe he'll throw in like a 76ers signed jersey or something like that. You know, everything's available, man. Just shoot me a DM and I'll connect you with him, and you guys can maybe work out a deal.
And if you associate an ENF name with your Ethereum address, you'll see on the leaderboard, some of them are Ethereum addresses, but some of them are like, you know, future.eth, like they have like these cool names. All that is ENF. If you go to ENF, it's a great service. You can buy like a domain name on Ethereum, and then you assign it to your name, and then it'll show up. And what's nice about that too is like you can look at that person and be like, oh, hey, I know this person needs these cards. They're working towards the top. I can go like, you know, I recognize that username. You know, they're in Discord. I can go like trade with them or something.
Yep. It is awesome. Anybody want to give anybody else want to jump in up here or give us a market watch update? I love this with this track.
AMA.
I got one question.
Go for it.
Yeah. First of all, hey everybody, great to meet you all through the Discord and just over time. Big props to everything that's being done across this group. Who developed the desks? Was that Kian as well? Because I think a lot of the first collections that were built were done through some of the deals OTC and on that DEX, and I think it's a pretty big part of the history.
You're referring to the 0x org?
Yep.
Yeah. We were trying to find ways to trade the native cards. So there was Etho Delta, obviously, way back when, which we broke. Yeah, Kian set up the buy the Curio.Cards, I forget what it was, and that was using the 0x, and it kind of worked because, I mean, it does work. It just was kind of gas expensive, and I don't think there's any cards on it now, but it was very important early on because like you want a secure way of trading cards. There was like an escrow peer-to-peer service, but that's kind of, you got to trust somebody, and that's fine. But that was a really cool tool. That was able to beat the wrapper, which then obviously gave us OpenSea. There's kind of just a rush to like, how can we make these cards functional, and the hierarchy of what can be done quick versus what's the best thing that'll take longer.
Definitely. And just for Adam, because you've been a big part of leading the curation of all this history. I was in that original chat with Die Aping and the small handful of others the night of the rediscovery. So I think I have it all archived on my phone in a Telegram chat. If any of the commentary from there is helpful, you can just hit me up offline and I can share whatever I have from those records.
Oh, that'd be very cool, man. Very cool.
All right, I'm dropping off. Cheers, everybody, and thanks again.
Hey, later, Stack. Or later, dude.
All right, guys. Anybody else want to come up and have a word before we wrap up? All right, man.
Does anybody have questions? Any other questions? Did we ever open the floor for questions? I was gone for like.
Yeah. We've had it.
Okay,
open.
awesome. I mean, I've got a question for you, Adam. What's your end game here? Like, what's your what do you believe in?
Well, it's funny. Maybe should I share a little bit of the backstory, Robek, about me and you at the start of this whole thing?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to.
Sure. Well, at the start of this, I was so excited about Curio that I actually met with some friends of friends about raising money and trying to buy basically all of Robek's cards. So we all know Robek has quite a substantial holding, and I tried to convince Robek to sell me his entire set of cards, and I was going to raise money to try and buy his whole set. So it's funny because that was kind of the beginning of my, I mean, this is, I don't know how you remind me, Robek, how far into this was. It was like a few weeks after the rediscovery, maybe.
I don't even know if it was that long away. I mean, like, the thing that kind of clued me into it was like, yeah, I got the Twitter DM, but I got it like a few hours or like maybe a day or two after getting a random like form submission to a dead forum on a dead website. That was like, hey, I'm really looking to get this Curio card. What? Who is looking for this right now? And why are they on my website asking me for them? Because I don't think I had like anything to identify who I was through my wallet at the time. So they must have like found me through my like the artist page and then like just assumed that I had my cards, which is not the case for like most of us. Like the only way you have cards from 2017 is if you were actively buying from the vending machine, which is like a gotcha concept. So I was just like, this is probably a scam because I work in this space full time and I've been doing it for like 3 or 4 years. And like most of the time when I get stuff like that, I'm like, that's weird. And this just feels like keywords. And then it wasn't until you reached out, Adam, that I was like, wait, what? This is like an actual person that I can verify as a human. And they're like asking me about this stuff. And I haven't thought about it in years. So yeah, I mean, that was kind of when I was like, hey, Travis, Ian, because I didn't have contact information from Thomas at the time. It's like, guys, like, I'm getting like weird inquiries about Curio, and it looks like the Discord is like got some new members. What's happening?
Yeah.
And yeah, that's basically when we hopped in.
Yeah. So I mean, when I was talking to kind of I reached out to everybody, right? But you were one of the few who actually said they had any cards. I mean, I asked everybody if they had cards, I think, and most everybody said no. You may have been one of the only ones who said yes, actually. And then we got into further discussions. I don't know what we were talking about, but about like how many you had, and you shared how many you had. And my, old school business brain, screamed opportunity, 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 right? And so it didn't work out, but in the end, it did work out, right? This is actually way better than I could have ever hoped for. Me being some like Curio card, bottleneck to the project would have been uncool. And so I think it was, and the way you've distributed and sold and been very open about the cards and not hoarded them, which you could have very much easily done, which would have put a real damper on the project, I think is to be applauded. I think, people might not fully understand that, but your openness and your encouragement of the project, I don't think there's anybody who's been more instrumental in the project moving forward than you, because I mean, what we talked about earlier with your efforts with the art and stuff like that, and believing in the product and buying the cards, and then allowing those cards to sell and move. Really, bravo, man! Because I think it was critical to this whole project.
I'll do what I always do when you guys start talking about me, and I'll shift the blame over to Moon, just because generally everything is always Moon's fault. And he may not be in here anymore, but like, I don't know, there's some values that were instilled through my meeting him and like through learning and discovering the project through this. And so I think without that kind of like mentorship, I don't know what I would have done 4 years later, but it has definitely influenced the shape who I am now. So we'll always blame Moon for all of my stuff, or like anything you guys throw at me. So.
Well, we also want to recognize Robek for his larger work in the NFT community. I think something about, getting the cards sold and then the next card sold and the next card sold. And I just see all these reports all the time on Twitter about different artists, how excited they are that Robek is bidding on their cards. And sometimes he's bidding on their NFT, sorry. Sometimes he's bidding on them and no one else is. And they're like, wow, my first one sold. And they're so grateful. And there's this whole kind of community now of people where Robek is helping them out, and then they go and help out other people and they help out other, and it's just this cascading effect. So I want to celebrate him for that too.
Absolutely. I mean, yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of people do see it and call it out and give props where it's due.
The value that is being created here with these kinds of tokens, it's community-based value, right? Like the idea that a bunch of people think a project is worth their time, that is interesting, that is a community-based thing. So, yeah, I mean, pay it forward because that's the right thing to do. It's also kind of the smartest thing to do. You want to get people involved, like people excited, people interested.
Yeah, absolutely. So we could all be.
You want real engagement. You don't want to just hire a bunch of Twitter bots or something. You want people to I think the thing about Gary that is cool is that he found us. There was no secret initiative to contact influencers. I'm not hitting marketing companies up. We're not paying people to say things online. There's no marketing budget. There's no effort to reach out to these people. Gary found us. And the other big buyers, they found us because they like it. They're interested. We got the word out. We're trying to educate people to understand this thing exists. And then if they look at it and say that's amazing, that is the engagement you want. If they look at it and say I'm not interested, that's fine too. There's a percentage of the population out there that love Curio right now. No convincing required. They just need to know about it.
Yep.
100%. And also on that point as well, I would love to see more people sort of just taking that leap on Twitter. And I know it's kind of annoying, you got to be that annoying guy, talking about something, but really, if we don't talk about it, these huge buys that happened tonight or something, as much as it sucks, people seeing these huge sales, it shows that there's someone smart money out there buying these things, right? So it kind of sucks to be that guy like, yo, look how many sales this got, look how many sales that got. But I know that that's kind of like the hook to get people in. And then I just sort of like hit the Twitter search bar, type in Curio.Cards, see people talking about it, jump in, talk about it with them. Oh, damn, that's cool. Which one did you get? Boom, boom, boom. And I think like when people tweet about Curio or something, it would be great if everyone in here just like sort of jump in and just be like, hey, what's up? And let people know that there is a community, invite people to join the Discord, etc. Just small things like that. But I think Twitter is really underappreciated. It's literally like the place to get the word out. So sometimes I was feeling lonely yesterday, not today, but yesterday I was like the only person on Twitter tweeting about Curio.Cards. I'm like, guys, come on, let's get it popping. So anyway, no,
and it's not hard too, right? Because like I think there's this idea that being understood is bullish, right? The simpler and the easier it is to understand something, the more it can spread, the more interesting it is. This isn't like a complicated thing. You don't have to be like, oh, hey, there's this cool thing. It's got like there's 3 tokens involved. There's boosting mechanisms. They have this whole LP deal. You have to be on the different L2s. There's none of that. It's just first art NFT on Ethereum.
Boom. Exactly. I love how simple it is. I couldn't agree more, Travis, for sure.
All right, guys. I think I'm going to wrap it. Thanks everybody for joining us. Really, really appreciate it.
Thanks, Adam.
Thanks, Adam. Thanks, guys. That was awesome.
You guys are the best.
Thank you so much, Adam. Much appreciated.
All right, guys. Have a good
Much love. Farewell.
Bye.
Bye.
Later, guys.